You rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment, anybody sign up for it? In your packet, you have two sets of minutes, and the closed session minutes have been passed around. Is there a motion to approve all three sets of minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve all three sets of the minutes.
Joe made a motion, Bruce is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You also have the agenda before you. I sent out Friday. I've got three changes I would like to propose. If we can move item 15D to right after line item 7, just after public safety, 15D.
I'm missing the second page.
Maybe on the back.
No, there's nothing on the back.
I got it.
It's perfect.
I was leaving after 11.
15D will move to just after line item 7. We will add item 10G, which will be an expenditure request for park and recreation for clearing the wood line at Veterans Pond. That just came in today. And then we would add item 15F, a discussion on shelter and restroom at Russell Park. Any other changes or additions? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Mark made a motion,
Second.
Jim second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion. All right, we've got several gentlemen from the sheriff's office here tonight. We'll start with Deputy Bailey to give us our local report.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. So last month was a really good month. Nothing sure was really speak of that's out of the ordinary. Our traffic stops are a little bit higher than normal. So we've been really proactive. And our alarm report has all different alarms, different places. Nothing that's becoming an issue or anything like that. So I don't have really any concerns or any trends that I've noticed. Just business as usual.
Thank you, Deputy Bailey. There was a question somebody had emailed over, and I didn't know the right answer to it. I just got it yesterday or tomorrow. The crosswalks on Faith Church.
So
Can you ticket? Is that a ticketable offense?
it is, yes. Vehicles have to yield to the pedestrians in the crosswalk, yes.
Maybe for the next month, if y'all could just write a couple warnings or see what's going on there. Apparently, there's a lot of people pushing.
I'm over
the button.
multiple vehicles for the traffic.
That was one thing. Answered. Any other questions?
I have one question. The traffic stop 60, I've asked this question before a long time ago. Does that include the stops on Faith Church because it's a state road?
So that includes any stops that are inside the limits of Lake Park. So that could be Faith Church Road as well. Yeah, so as long as it's inside the limits of Lake Park, as the broadcast system shows it's limits of Lake Park, it'll count that as a stop for Lake Park.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
We also have Chief Deputy Tony Underwood with us tonight. He wanted to give just a quick presentation to the sheriff's office on a few things that they've seen the past year or two, and some of it is historical data. Before Chief talks, I would like to just recognize you guys for National Police Week, Law Enforcement Week. The events of 2 weeks ago are just absolutely unheard of. I think what a lot of people don't understand are how many lives are touched by the men and women that were out there, not just those families involved. I know when I was in the fire service, I experienced one line of duty death, and it changes your life forever. There are things that you just can't unsee. And my heart goes out to everyone, of you men and women.
Thank you very much. And just on that note, we do have our ceremony, our annual ceremony this week, Police Week, Memorial Week, is on Thursday at 12:45 in the afternoon. If anyone wants to come, the public's invited. It's just outside the courthouse there in the courtyard. It's 15-20 minute long ceremony, but it's really going to be special this year because of those tragic events you just mentioned.
I've been down there, and it is beautiful, man.
Other than the weather will cooperate.
Correct, yeah.
But do you have the slides?
I do, yeah.
So I'll just be as quick as I can to go through this. And first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to come and speak with you guys. And we like to do this, at least make this opportunity available to our towns that contract for police services through the sheriff's office. It's what I like to call our annual report card. It kind of gives you a context as to how we're doing as an agency. We'll give you some statistics countywide first and foremost. I'll briefly go through those. And then I'll show you specific to Lake Park, what you're looking at as far as how we're responding to calls for service and the type of, calls that we're answering in this particular area. Also with me is Captain Wes Tyson. He was appointed Captain of Operations Division last August. We did some internal personnel moves. So part of his responsibility, he's over all the patrol squads, to include all of our special operations where all of our contract deputies work under his leadership. So I wanted him to be part of this as well.
Sure.
So I'll go ahead and get started. But, please stop and ask any questions you may have, and we'll do our best to answer those. So if you will, just start with, we'll look at some of our patrol statistics. This is a map that really illustrates our 4 primary response zones. You can see that Lake Park is really between that zone 1 and zone 4, but it's really part of the greater Indian Trail area. So if a Lake Park deputy is not on call or on duty at the time a specific call for service is given out in the Lake Park area, you're more than likely going to get a response from one of our Indian Trail cars, first and foremost. If not, it'll be one of our other zone cars that would either be zone 1 or zone 4. This is our patrol events. You heard Deputy Bailey talk about some of these self-initiated calls and proactive policing. That is the bread and butter of what makes Union County the safe community that it is. It is those self-initiated calls where we're out in the communities, we're out doing those traffic stops, we're out looking for potential crimes in progress to deter the crime from ever happening. And so this is something we're very proud of. When you look at that graph, you'll see in 2023, I think that shows 119,000 total self-initiated calls, and that's countywide over the course of 2023. And that blue column at the bottom is the total calls for service. Those were dispatch calls that came through our 911 CCOM. But the other calls is really where your officers are out doing that proactive police work. And they're keeping those numbers pretty high. As you see, our population continue to trend upward near 255,000 countywide. So we're trying to emphasize the importance of those proactive police work. This is our response time. This is countywide. So our average time of response from the time the call is given out until that first officer's on scene is about 10.4 minutes. And that's countywide average. And keep in mind, it's what we would call a hot call. A crime in progress is going to be quicker. For some of your other calls, it may be pending for a period of time until they can get there, but it's not necessarily an emergency response. It may be a little bit longer. So that average time is about 10.45 minutes, which is still below the national average. And that's factoring in the traffic challenges that these officers also have to deal with in this community. Crash, this is something that you see a lot of vehicle crashes. Of the total accidents reported countywide last year, you see nearly 6,500 crashes were reported countywide. That's all of them. That's counting the ones worked by Highway Patrol, other municipalities, and our agency. You'll see in total, the Sheriff's Office worked 31.74% of all accident investigations. And we were the primary on 2,000 of those calls. So that's a lot of accident reports, and it's really unique because not that many sheriff's offices in North Carolina do traffic accident investigations. Our sheriff, being a former state trooper himself, has emphasized the importance of getting these roads cleared. It's a service to the residents, so they don't have to sit there and wait for who knows how long for a trooper to maybe respond.
Right.
They just don't have that many of them anymore.
How many troopers are in Union County now, you know?
Well, I know they have about 20 positions. I think staffed, First Sergeant tells me they have about 13 or 14. Now that's serving both Union and Anson. And on duty at one time, you know. Talking about some of our investigations, and the success they have. If you see in the orange column there in the far right for 2022, the 2023 numbers are not yet available. But that's your North Carolina crimes per 100,000 persons for violent crimes statewide, and then the blue graph is national. The part I like to brag about is the yellow to the far right is Union County. 47.37 violent crimes per 100,000 persons. This is still a very, very safe community, which is one of the big selling points of why people want to come here, is because it's safe. And that's because of that proactive police work we like to think is a big part of that. This is property crimes. You'll see the same, sort of numbers that show Union County, even property crimes. So there's more of those as it compares to both national and state average, but we're well below national and state rate there as well. We see an uptick. A lot of the property crimes are car break-ins or attempted car break-ins. You'll see a lot of those. What a lot of these offenders are doing, they'll go into a neighborhood. We have so many subdivisions, and they go house to house. If they see a car in the driveway late at night, they pull on the door. If it's unlocked, they're going in. And if there's anything at all disturbed, taken, removed from that vehicle, that technically is a separate incident report. Some of those, you may have 20 or 30 a night on occasion. That drives those numbers up. Now, this is something as well, you'll see a lot of these, and don't be alarmed as much about the increase in the number of incidents in our schools. A lot of that is due to the fact that our Board of County Commissioners have continued funding the school resource officers, so that our goal is to eventually have a 1-to-1 ratio in every public school in Union County. I think we lack 6 at this point. Now, they still have coverage, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, and we'll see what they do this year. But you'll see the breakdown between elementary, middle, and high school, the number of incident reports that were documented. And a lot of those are who knows, it could be an assault, it could be a larceny, it could be a theft, it could be any number of things, a threat to that school. That's documented as a separate incident report. But in 2023, 1,446 incidents were documented in our schools last year. They stay busy in our schools.
They're going busy today over there.
They're very busy today. Yes, sir. Drug-related arrest, we like to continue keeping the pressure on our drug dealers. 431 arrests in 2023, and we're only going after the dealers, not so much the users. I mean, if you see it, you have to deal with it. But our drug unit is primarily focusing on the dangerous drugs that are killing people. Mostly the fentanyl, the heroin, still the methamphetamines. But right now, fentanyl is our primary goal, to identify those that are dealing fentanyl that's killing people. These are our number of positions. Total, we have right now 363 total positions, and you'll see we sort of track consistent with the growth of the county by population. That they sort of run parallel in most years, and a lot of that growth in the recent years has been the addition of those school resource officers. School safety being one of the priorities for our county. Now we'll talk specifically about Lake Park. A few stats here. This just shows all of our towns that contract for law enforcement services. Obviously, Indian Trail is the largest by number of employees. They currently pay for 36 employees. Weddington has 3. You guys pay for 2. Morgan has 2, and Wesley Chapel has 1. So that's where we stand. This just shows a comparison between the different municipalities and their populations based on the 2023 census and what their law enforcement budget is. And you'll see you guys are there on the right at 3,500 residents. You basically pay currently $231,827 per year, or you reimburse that to the county for 2 full-time deputies. And this kind of gives you a projected cost for this next fiscal year. A fully loaded deputy, the costs have gone up. For one deputy, fully loaded cost up front will be about $215,000. That may change a little bit if they increase salaries again with the July budget. That's why there's an asterisk by that $215,000. Now, that's if the county funded a new position. Now, for the contract towns, we amortize a lot of those expenses over a course of 5 years, like for the vehicle. Some of the other equipment, we amortize on different schedules to reduce that cost per year. But the 100% deputy costs about 141, 90%, which is where you guys fall, is about 127, 733 projected right now. And that just gives you an illustration of what some of those equipment, the schedule of that, how some of that equipment is replaced. For example, the shirts, every deputy's issued 4 shirts. They each cost about $220, or the 4 together cost $220. Our vest, the body armor, is a 5-year replacement schedule at $1,300, so it's factored in at $260 per year, and that's how some of that those costs were. At the bottom, you see the additional services. This is one of the things that a lot of times people forget. You pay for 2 full-time deputies to exclusively serve in Lake Park. But in addition to that, you also get the benefit of every service the sheriff's office provides, including our investigations, our crime scene folks, our animal services, our special response team if needed, and all of the other programs that we support through the agency. So that's an added, bonus that serves the whole county, but you also get the benefit of that as well. Lake Park patrol events, you'll see, I think the last year, if there's 2023, you can see last year, the calls for service in Lake Park was at 282. And I think the Lake Park cars, there was total calls dispatched in Lake Park was 563, so right at 50%. And then that's self-initiated, the gray bar at the very bottom, over 3,600 self-initiated events in Lake Park. That's pretty telling. That's a crime prevention strategy right there. Traffic accidents, you'll see in the far right, I think that says 18. My class is
18.
I think it's 18. And those were all law enforcement agencies that investigated those in Lake Park, regardless of who it was. The ones that were handled by one of the 2 Lake Park deputies, 3 of those 18 were handled by Lake Park cars. Calls answered by contracts. This also tells a story. You'll see in Indian Trail, the deputies assigned to Indian Trail, of those 36 employees, they answered nearly 81% of all calls in Indian Trail. Go down to Lake Park. So your 2 deputies answered just over 50% of the total calls that were dispatched in here. So that kind of gives you an idea of, do we have enough coverage? I mean, I think that's a pretty impressive number. When you look at Weddington, they have 3, and their cars answered just over 40%. And the one that comes in, it's another issue with Wesley Chapel, but they're only at 13%. Total calls taken, that is sort of a different graph. It shows essentially what we just talked about, but you're seeing over 50% of calls answered by Lake Park cars. The other ones are answered majority by Indian Trail, and then other agencies, and it may be Stallings, it could be one of our zone cars, it could be another agency altogether that happened to be closest to that call. And this is your response time for Lake Park cars. Last year, I think they were over 7 minutes from the time of dispatch to the time of arrival. That's well below our county average. And you'll see that total incident reports last year, Part 1 crimes, I think there were 12 reported in Lake Park, and Part 2 crimes, it looks like 73. DWI arrest, there was 1 unfortunate soul in 2023 in Lake Park. And that's pretty much it.
We appreciate it. Any questions? Chief?
Very informative, thank you.
Yeah, one of the questions that, we hear from the community a lot are, do we have enough debt?
Right.
And obviously it's a big expense.
Sure.
In what we just saw there and what you said, you think we have pretty good coverage for?
My opinion is, and I don't know if Captain Tyson or Deputy Bailey would disagree, but I think you're adequately covered right now. I do think those numbers show that you've probably got the right coverage currently. Because if the calls continue to increase, if the response times increase, and you saw a need for more coverage, I don't think you're there yet. I think you're pretty safe right now.
One of the things too that, just so that folks in the audience know is, we don't publish the times that our deputies are on duty, but they're always looking at annually at what times our crimes are occurring to make sure we are optimizing our 2 deputies at those times, and have been doing that for quite some time, and take care of everything.
Well, Captain Tyson, and under him is Lieutenant Mayhew, who is their direct report supervisor, but he schedules their shifts and their times when they're working, and it does take into account the time of year. Summertime, they may shift that
Right.
schedule a little bit, but it does take into account when, and it's sort of predictive analysis of when you expect there to be a greater need for more law enforcement presence. You do have your quiet time, if you will.
Right.
There's a few hours, maybe, between like 2 and 5 a.m. when there's not a lot of activity going on.
Right.
Doesn't mean it won't happen, but you try to predict when your peak hours are, and we try to provide coverage there. And you're always gonna have coverage, but it's that dedicated coverage when these 2 guys are working.
I'll tell you, Chief and Captain, and I've told you this by email, I was in the sheriff's office a month or 2 ago.
Yes,
I told him, we've had some great deputies in Lake Park, and I've only lived here 8 years, but I've known about all of them that have been here in that time. We've got 2 of the best that I think this council's interacted with community policing and the traffic stops and the educational traffic
Sure.
stops. A guy 3 doors down from me was pulled over recently, and he didn't get a ticket, but he said, I didn't realize something I had done was wrong, and he said he talked to me, now I understand it. And they're equal opportunity. I had a Mother's Day party Sunday over at my house, and my sister was parked illegally, and I got a text from Deputy Headland and said, there's a black van out there, is it 30 feet from the intersection? I said, look, no, we better move that. He said, I won't tell Sheree, so. But anyway, no, it's great. We've got 2 good guys, and we really appreciate it. We can do anything from our side for your agency or our deputies, we certainly love to.
Well, we appreciate that. We're here to provide the service, so anytime you have a concern or question or anything at all, please reach out to any of us and let us know how we can help.
You guys are welcome to stay. We should be out here by midnight, but if you want to go ahead and go, I'll go ahead and have that.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
I had that board do it. Yeah. All right, I did not get the information back from Henry Bridge for this month, so we'll catch that up next month for the fire call information. Moving up, item 15D, we move forward, or I requested to move forward. We have the Schwalls with us, am I pronouncing that correctly?
That is correct.
Tessa and Kevin, and I'll go through, you keep seeing, I'm gonna go through a few slides and then we'll let you guys talk. Everybody here is aware, we've met out there, I met 2-on-1, Sheree's been out to their house with me as well. Just for our viewers that are out there, situation is there are multiple large trees on a small piece of area there, it's a common area. 2 of them were very sick and need to be removed. The residents at 5928 Hoover have requested to purchase a small portion of that area, which does include those sick trees and some other trees. The 2 sick trees, I've told everybody this, Union Power, Will Ortiz is Union Power's certified arborist. He's also on Park and Rec. He met us out there, looked at the trees. Union Power will drop those trees because they're a threat to the 3-phase power right next door. When they say drop, they literally mean they'll drop them on the ground and they're laid there and then somebody has to clean them up. Jim and I were the last two out there. Travis Kiker met us out there. I've got Travis's quote. Travis said if he was gonna do that job, he would prefer to actually take the trees down himself because he can take them down and he can control how he gets the debris out of there. Versus coming in behind Union Power and he's got a mess there that he's got to sort through, drag it out, take care of it. So his price ranged from $2,500 to $2,700, just depending on whether he took the trees down or whether Union Power did, just as a piece of information. Just again, for anybody that might be watching later on, the blue area is the Churchill Pond. The area of interest is the small red line that I kind of drew in there behind the Schwalls property, and their property has a hexagon on it there in orange. They're at the dead end of Hoover, and this is out on Faith Church Road. The two trees with the red arrows are the two large trees that are diseased and need to be removed. The two yellow arrows are two additional large trees that are on the same piece of property that are not sick right now. One does have some issues, but those two would remain. And then the blue arrow is pointing to a small maple over there that's also dying that we didn't even discuss with Travis. It's a small tree that can come down fairly easy. Some previous sales, property sales and easements that were that happened through the village, and I sent all this out by email. I did some data and came to find that we hold 103 land deeds. Are you aware that there were that many pieces?
Yes, sir.
More than I ever saw.
All those, they had back before my time.
Oh, those little
all
rings,
those
yeah.
small conveyances related to the sidewalk areas.
Yeah.
It was areas that would typically be owned by HOAs.
Right, yeah. So, big.
So at some point in time, the house beside Connie's Pond was given an easement. There was no land sale. The Faulkner sale happened in 2017, and this data came out of the minutes from the meetings. 0.015 acres, 653 square feet, that was sold to the Faulkners for $130. The Jeffries sale was in 2018, it was 0.016 or 696 square feet of an end cap, and that was sold for $200. Mr. McClure approached us in 2022 requesting to buy a common area on Sages in between his mother's house and another house. There were concerns over who was going to maintain that area because it's in the garden district and they have their own landscape company, and you buy a piece, is it now his to maintain? There were a few other things, but we worked out a different solution when there was no transaction that occurred there. And then the most recent sale was the Carlson land right over here on the corner, 0.30395 acres, 722 square feet, which was for $1,000, sold for $1,000. All those previous sales were the sales price plus all the associated costs in conveyance and contracting. The Churchill property that we're talking about with the Schwalls is, and you saw this in my email, I took Cherie's wheel over there and I measured it, and it's not square, so it's a little bit tough, but I did it in sections. Come up between 1,500 and 1,800 square feet, which is approximately 0.0344 to 0.413 acres. That, of course, will get found out in a real survey if anything moves forward. At this point in time, I'd like the Schwalls to just talk to you guys and tell you what they're thinking or how this came about. And I will welcome Tessa and Kevin.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Tessa Schwab, my husband. We're married 10 years in October. We have 2 young boys, and we actually moved here just about 3 years ago in August, sight unseen from Michigan. So we took a big leap of faith in Lake Park. My mom actually lived down here at the time, and she came and gave us a tour and loved the neighborhood, and all happened, and we ended up here, and we've loved it ever since. The main reason that we're interested in the land is because we do have 2 younger children, a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and they do like to play at our house often, almost daily. And it is a little bit of a safety concern being backed right up to the pond there. So, we initially, when we moved here, we discussed maybe building a fence, but we wanted to be able to see the pond, it's so beautiful, and, not close in the play area for the kids. So our hope is that in, gaining this property that is a little bit diseased, a little bit of an eyesore currently, that we can really dress it up and make it nice, usable space for our family, for the kids in the neighborhood, and hopefully make this more of a forever kind of home for us.
We have been maintaining that area. I don't know if you guys noticed when we came out, it kind of was cut out. The reason we did do that cutout was Dad's rule, you can't go into the tall grass for the little guys to kind of keep it. So doing that, I've always kept maintaining it for the past 3 years, whether that be cleaning the leaves, cutting the grass a little shorter, whatever may need to be done. We did have branches cut when we had our trees cut as well, again, just for aesthetics, to keep the area clean and looking as nice as possible.
And I didn't say this, everybody knows this from the meeting out there, so we're in the record. When Kevin came out, Kevin emailed or called down to Sheree, maybe the HOA first, and then they said it was a village issue about the trees, the diseased tree. And Will and I went out to look that afternoon or the next day, and Kevin came out and met us. And as we talked, he said, he was telling me, I mow the grass up through here, down the corner, and he said, I would be interested in, how could we get this piece of property? I said, well, we've sold some in the past. He said, well, I would be interested in swapping, if you will, this property, or I'll take on the responsibility of the trees. Almost everybody, when we met out there, one of the conditions, and we'll talk about, whether we move forward or not a little bit, but, and I've conveyed this to Kevin, is, I think one of the conditions is the trees have to come down, and I think that would be your intent if this happens, is that they're coming down so that you can build your fence and have a play area for the kids. Is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
Travis, when we were out there, Jim and I with Travis, pointed out that tree, this tree right here, only has one side. It has limbs out here, but this big tree has blocked the limbs from growing on this side of that tree. So when these two trees come down, this tree is going to be one-sided, which is a safety concern of wind catching it, one gust of wind and blowing it. So Travis did say that will be the next tree that would need to come down, whether we keep it, they keep, whatever happens, just as an FYI. Any questions you guys have of Schwalb's?
Kind of time limits would we put on it as far as the two dead trees or semi-dead trees have to come down versus one that's gonna be a half a tree?
Right. I would say, Mark, and this is kind of what I said in my email to you guys earlier yesterday. I'm not asking you, we don't even have an offer for us to vote on tonight. What I didn't want to do is waste their time or our time or staff time between now and next month or whenever, if we're not interested in kind of the general thought process is that we would convey the land to them for $1 or whatever it is, with the caveats of the trees have to come down. I think you could put a reasonable time estimate on there to say, Will Ortiz did tell us the trees are not gonna fall tomorrow, they're not gonna fall, doesn't think, you never know, but they're not an immediate problem, but they've gotta come out of there. So, I think there's.
Well, we never thought about that tree in Matheson Park coming down. either.
Correct, that's right, yeah, you never know, that's for sure. I talked to Ken yesterday, because one of the concerns that council so decides to move forward, not a concern, but an opportunity, is wording an offer, wording this offer correctly in the conveyance, but I think we would need to convey the land before the trees come down, because he's not gonna cut the trees down if we haven't conveyed the land. But I think council could set a reasonable time frame.
Ken, can it be structured such that we convey this land and within 6 months, whatever, is you already cut down these two
You're
trees,
just gonna have to.
take it away?
You can, you just wanna make sure you've got some degree of confidence or faith that buyers are gonna follow through with that, and if they not, if they don't, then you're gonna have to follow in your part to do something about it.
We also, and I talked with Kevin and Tessa, they understand, but I want to make sure again that we're on the record that in all these sales we've done, the village has not incurred any of the expense. So whether it's re-surveying your land and adding this piece to it, or surveying the common area and cutting out that piece, whichever way it goes, and I don't know that it matters one way or the other, we just have to get it added, but it, it starts with an offer and then a survey, and then you gotta record the stuff at the deed and get the two parcels put into one. I mean, there's a process in that, as well as the legal process that the village has to go through. It's accept an offer, advertise that it's been accepted, wait 10 days, I think, or some time frame for an upset bid to come in. If it doesn't, then you can, go to the next step. It's probably a 90-day process at minimal, at best.
That's.
Yeah, right.
Talk about surveyor, surveyors are not, these days are busy, probably started, I've had some experience recently, getting a surveyor to do something really quick, it's not easy.
Kevin,
It's
you-
probably something pretty small, that wouldn't necessarily motivate them, might take a little while. Shereen knows that process as good as I did.
It would be an easier process if we offered more for the land and the city took care of the trees, like if we offered 2,000 for that property once the trees are taken down, and again, we incur the expenses of the survey and everything else that comes with it.
It's no quicker, it's the same process.
Yeah. Okay.
It'd be speed it up.
I wouldn't know if it'd be easier from like a legal standpoint, or, give
Yeah, it's
anybody else
the
an
same
easier peace of mind.
It'll be the same process.
Okay.
Couple of comments I have.
Because the council will have, so, you guys, I don't know, maybe you've been through it one time before, but whenever you do one of these, if you agree to sell it, after the agreement to sell the upset bid takes place, if somebody were to upset it, you still have the ability to get out from under that, because maybe for whatever reason might be that you don't want to sell it to the upset bidder, because that's something that's included within the resolution that's done, if I recall. Yeah, so.
Couple of comments I have. Sheree, from the stormwater standpoint, is it far enough away from the pond, the piece of land they want to take?
I believe so, because of just the way it sits. So I know this is a designer map, but, so their property, and you can see the little circle there. So it's a ways from, I can send this over to you, but the pond is further down.
And there's a drainage to there, it's far
Yeah.
enough away from that.
Yeah, from that standpoint, it would still leave us area to work,
Okay.
or it should.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons why a survey of their property in that piece is gonna be so important, so that we get exactly how close, that would be. And for someone, whoever surveys it is gonna need to stake it so we can see that.
And the only comment I have, I'm not sure I'm so concerned with them taking the trees down or not. We don't tell other people that have bad trees on their lot, they have to take them down. So once they buy it, they're buying it as it is, I don't have a concern even. Unless their attorney thinks we have it.
No, I mean, it's your call.
I just look at that as
It's your call.
There's other lots around that has bad trees on it, we don't tell them they gotta take their trees down, right?
Yeah, this was actually an issue I was gonna bring up tonight. I was, somebody sent me, a resident neighborhood over in Mimosa, sent me a picture of this dead tree on a neighbor's property. And she's concerned, she's concerned that the tree's gonna fall over and hit their property. And I said, well, first of all, you need to go over, you really should go over there and talk to the people. And then as she said she'll do it, I'm looking up and I'm going, wait, it's a rental property. So therefore, they're gonna go, we just rent the place, so therefore, it's not our problem. And so basically, I told her who the actual landlord was, so she's gonna contact the landlord. Whether she'll get anywhere or not, who knows? But is there any ordinance in Lake Park where this is a problem?
No, nothing applies towards that on the ordinance.
Neighbor to neighbor.
And the other thing,
HOA could have something with a dead tree.
They tried the HOA and said no,
Yeah, the HOA is not, they would pretty much leave that alone.
but basically it just has to fall.
I mean, the best thing for anybody, I'm not to get too far off subject, the best thing for anybody is to let them know in writing
Hmm.
or whoever, what the situation is. Therefore, if there is a problem, then they're liable for it, because if not, it's considered an act of God, unless that person knew that tree was dead.
So was the $1,000 on the last piece we sold, was that to help cover our costs? Is that what some of that was?
That's just the price that, I think maybe the originally they offered 250 or something, I don't remember, but, or maybe they offered 1,000, they
I
came
thought it
back.
was 500, we went up with 1,000, we went up a little bit higher on it. Mark had some concerns of it, still didn't quite meet Mark's concerns of the amount.
I was just thinking it was help cover our costs, legal fees we have on our side or
Well, if
not.
Ken reviews at the very end, we do have a little legal fee. However, the
They paid
purchaser,
that,
the purchaser pays for the survey. They have to go through their attorney to,
Mhm.
draw up the deed. And then they have to have the deed recorded and all, that's all their expense. So, and we also based on kind of what that piece of property was worth, the tax amount, because I want to say the tax amount on that piece was
Yeah.
right around.
we had good
$700.
enough to cover Ken's expenses.
Because the way we do it typically, I think we do place on the burden on the folks that are desiring to purchase it, to provide you with a buy-sell agreement. That buy-sell agreement determines whether, because we have to tweak it sometimes in regards to ensuring that there's a delineation that all the costs that are involved are in fact going to be the responsibility of the buyers. It's not always that way. It's a kind of typical buy-sell circumstance. So that sometimes slows it down for those folks, because they're new to what they're doing probably, which is they're gonna have to hire somebody, I would think, unless they have some experience with drafting their own buy-sell agreement. And though you didn't use it working on a buy-sell form, for it, they gotta present something for us to determine. what-
And
Yeah, I
then
just
you
saw
also-
some of that went up because of Ken's cost.
And we also have to advertise,
Right,
in the paper and everything, so the village, so that covers, at the end of the day, we're zero.
Right.
So that's where that $1,000.
so that $1,000
Yeah, but I
help
don't think
cover
that,
those
but that
costs.
wasn't part of that increased sales price, I don't think, was it?
I think I was thinking it
To try to
was.
cover it?
Yeah, the first thing we said during the process was the last
It would
two
cost
sales,
us
we
less.
were,
Oh, we went.
we were negative in the last two
Yeah.
sales, so we had to make sure that we were at least at a 0 point.
Right.
Gotcha.
That was the goal, to be at zero, to not cost the village anything.
I mean, I certainly think that looking at I mean, when I went out to your property the first time, when Jeremy and I looked at it with Steve, I looked at it. I'm like, are we sure this is not their property? I mean, it looks like it should be part of that, so I certainly understand the fact that we need to do that.
Do it all the way around. That's what the residents want to do. And I don't see any problem with the process going forward. Actually, it's a safer place for your kids growing up. And 2 less trees for them to climb.
Yes.
Martin? Anything else? from you?
No, I mean, for what they want to accomplish, and given that the same basically square footage went for $1,000 in Carlson's last year, and it's gonna save us $2,500, $2,700 by just getting rid of the problem, I have no problem with it.
No, I totally understand having that extra for the children, for the yard, and I'm all for it.
Thank you.
You guys good by consensus then that they'll draft an offer in some manner of conveying the land for some small fee in conjunction to, what about the trees part?
Well, the
Make sure
residents
that-
said they were gonna take care of the trees.
Yeah, I'm saying, Steve said, Steve's point was, is it,
Not even making that variable.
To me, it's not a variable for me because it's their property, then if the tree falls in their house, it's their issue.
It's not as much the tree would fall their way as it falls the other way and takes out
Oh, so
power.
I have a question. Union Power knows about it right now.
Yes,
They have a problem. They may just drop it.
right.
Even
They
though
could,
they're on- Even though they're on private property, they may just drop that. If they think they're gonna drop it, they're gonna drop one and drop the other one from the other. Okay? And then they say goodbye. That's why Kyle was saying, just taking them stuff out.
To make things easier all the way around, should we just have Parks and Rec do the trees, and then just keep in mind, you gotta start at $2,700.
So that's what,
We just take, we do it, get it done, so we don't have a problem, and just keep in mind, because one way or the other, it's gonna have to be done.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind that with your price offer, that, you know, that expense is in there that we've already incurred, so we'd have to have that into that. You'll be spending the money anyway to do it. This way, we wouldn't have to worry about anything written in the language of having it done. We wouldn't have to worry about coming back later and telling somebody that you have to cut down trees on private property, which we can't really do.
Right, Piper's talking about taking the 2 trees.
Mhm.
What about that one tree that's gonna be naked on the one side?
I didn't.
That's something.
They said it would be the next thing to have to come there.
Do you wanna leave it?
I leave it clean as we can leave it. I mean, I won't, I'll include all that in there.
That's the word I was gonna use, do it, just not including it at all, or you do it the way Joe suggested, it's cleaner.
Yeah.
You don't have
The only other, I don't know, I have no idea who their tree guy is. If they have a tree guy that can do it less than that, then it's gonna cost them.
Yeah.
that's why it would be easier to offer, you know, 2,000. Your guys do the trees, because a lot, we'll get what a lot sold for $1,000. We're willing to, you know, kind of meet halfway, give you another 1,000 for our land, or for the land, so 2,000, plus the survey, plus everything else. If your guys take care of the trees, I don't, if that's a fair thing. Again, not knowing what our people will charge, there's this guy, because I don't want to waste anyone's time coming out to a property and give us a quote, that's not ours. I don't think that's fair to, I'll figure it out.
So I think the question is if we take them down, we consider an offer of $2,000. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes, and then the cost of survey and all the other fees.
I would think it'd have to at least cover the cost of what we're doing. Now, somebody else, I'll tell you this, just, you know, I've had some trees taken down recently. I wish I would have called Kuiper, because the ones I had taken down beside my house, one tree cost me close to that, because it was right next to the house too, so there's one there. So, yeah, so. Like I said, we're not looking to make money off of the property, but we're not looking to incur expenses itself either. But,
See, the only concern I have, nothing about, if we have Piper take down the 2 trees. Piper also pointed out that one tree is gonna be totally bare on the one side. Does that create a liability to the village that we didn't take that tree down? Because chances, that's a good sized tree. And chances are, the winds we've been getting lately, if the wind catches it just right, and God forbid if it falls into your home, are we gonna get a knock on the door and say, hey, you gotta fix my home? That's why I'm thinking
We
maybe
need
it
to
should be
take
all,
down those
all 3.
Which would, or none, yeah.
Or none, so none.
Are you back to okay with the dollar and you doing the trees?
Yeah.
I just threw that, I'm not saying that was a condition, I was throwing it out as an idea, so I'm fine either way. I was trying to make everything simple about it.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. We're comfortable with the dollar.
Whatever, however it's figured out. And like Ken was saying, you can use the North Carolina form, you know, online, but you're gonna need to get some help probably from somebody in real estate to do, and it's time, but Sharice got the previous things we've done, we can try to help.
Right, yeah, right, and you could even ask.
Yeah.
Well, she's a lawyer,
She's an
she's a
attorney.
lawyer.
She's a-
Somebody done it herself.
She's a realtor.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other thoughts, comments?
No.
I think the next step would be is at our June meeting, between now and then, we will have an official offer that council will then vote on. One of the things that I had asked them, and I'll just share it, was if they agree kind of by consensus tonight, and you give a reasonable offer that's reasonably what we're talking about here, that they wouldn't deny it next month. Now, they certainly can. But I don't think they would waste your time either, but I mean, I just think it's fair for everybody involved to know what we're dealing with and the time frame and all that, so. All right. No other, everybody else good?
Yeah, just think the money's got enough to carry Ken's cost, right? We're saying.
Oh, yeah, all the costs.
As I'm sitting here, I'm whispering, it should be easier to help them along. Knock those out of it. Really, the only thing I'm gonna have to worry about with just looking at the box seller agreement, making sure it's got the tweaks are going, on, and then preparing the resolution or looking at the resolution. I'll try to minimize it as much as I can.
All right, we appreciate it. Again, y'all welcome to stay as well, but if not, y'all have a good night.
Take care.
Item 8, finance officers report. Cheryl?
Okay, you have the April report. And as far as revenues, we're right at 100% of property taxes and stormwater tax. We're on target on our state shared revenues. Our investment revenue is way over budget at 31,000 compared to a budget of 8,000. Total income is $1.3 million. Our expenditures are all pretty much in line. We are over in the flags account by about $300. So do you want to make a budget amendment to move 300 from a different account to?
Yeah,
another account?
we can do that. Is there a motion to move 300, you just need 300?
Mhm.
$300 from park maintenance to flags.
I'll make that motion.
Steve made a motion, Mark second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, okay, and then, total expenditures year to date are $1,133,000 and with a net revenue of 172,000.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I did notice you had moved like 100,000 out of a credit card into one
Yeah,
of the
just,
money markets. or
just a
something like
bank, a bank transfer.
that. Item B is setting, any questions for Cheryl on the finance? Setting the public hearing date for our public hearing. Typically, it's just prior to our June meeting. Is there a motion to,
Motion, make a public, June 11th, I remember correctly.
I'll second that motion.
Jim's made a motion, Steve second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
At 7?
Seven.
And then you have, there's two resolutions here, a revenue spending resolution and a minimum fund balance resolution. These both were policies that were adopted by the town September 13th of 2011 and have been duly noted in the audit report ever since. And these just sort of formalizes it to show what we have done. The revenue spending resolution. It's one of these things that we're required to do, although it sort of doesn't apply to us, because we've never had bond proceeds. We don't get a lot of other funds, but it's just something we have to adopt. The minimum fund balance is requesting we keep 50% of budgeted expenditures in uncommitted fund balance.
Any questions on either one of these?
Do we need a motion for each one or?
Probably so.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to start with the revenue spending resolution, to approve the revenue spending resolution.
I'll second it.
Joe's made a motion, Steve second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Then I'll make a motion to pass the ambulance policy as stated.
I'll second that as well.
Joe's made a motion, Steve second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else, Cheryl?
Now, you also do have your, the fee schedule for next year. It goes with next year's budget. That's all.
The budget message was just a.
It's just something
Now,
I'm
that's good.
required to do, yeah, goes with it too.
Thank you.
Sure.
Question for you, Cheryl. Excuse me.
Yeah, go
I'm just asking, so, we have to keep 50% of uncommitted funds and in a reserve for our current budget. So,
It's not really a reserve, it's just
Well,
uncommitted fund balance.
uncommitted fund balance.
I'm sorry.
There is uncommitted fund balance. Is that broken out on our balance sheet?
Okay, fund balance, we have different categories. Committed, which is something council can do and can undo at the next, they can commit it at one meeting and they can change it at the next, it's at the will of council. Restricted is stormwater and foul bill, those are things that are restricted by something stronger than just council, it's by an outside law kind of a thing. Committed again for playground, it's just a council at will. Fund balance other includes, it's mostly uncommitted, but we do have to compute every year at audit time, we have to compute, required to be kept by state statute, and it's a moving figure. So it's something that we compute each year at budget time and at audit time. So we have more than enough.
Okay, so that's, that line item is where, which is that.
It would include that, yeah, it would, not all of that is available, but yeah, a lot of it.
Cheryl, looking at this, is this worded properly?
Which one are you
On the,
looking
I'm
at?
sorry, on the fund balance policy, where it says available fund balance is at least equal to or greater than 50% of the budgeted expenditures.
Yeah, so this is right, just to make sure, so Jim was saying 50% of fund balance, it's not, we don't have to hold 50% of fund balance. It's
No.
50% of the budgeted expenses,
Right,
not 50% of the unencumbered fund balance.
right.
50% of the budgeted expenditures have to be accounted for in uncommitted funds.
Right, but not 50%
Not
of
of
the
the whole.
uncommitted
Yeah,
funds,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
If you look at if you read the audit report, it discusses it in the footnotes.
Jim, I guess what you were getting at though is, do we need a separate line on here to show?
Do we need a
that?
separate line to show that that's not money that can be
Yeah.
spent? It has to be, there.
What do
It
you?
has to be in
typically see,
uncommitted
Cheryl?
funds, but it has to be.
If
there.
you look at all of it that way, well, it's like, to compute it every single month would be, it's just hard to do that because we kind of work on a cash basis and not an accrual basis. And so to try to compute something on every single month would be difficult. Maybe not as meaningful. But yes, every year at the budget, we do make sure that we're fine. And, I mean, we're not at 50 or 60%, we're usually at 100%.
Which is much better than the 8% that
Or
that
whatever,
is
yeah, I mean, we're at
advertised.
more, yeah, we're at
Whatever,
4%.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, all right, no, thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
Item 9, stormwater 3, any update on Connie's Pond?
Yes. Okay. So the plans and the RFP for the contractors is complete and is right now out. We're getting bids on that. And based upon the updated topographical survey on the right-hand side of the property, from the top of the bank, we have 20 feet, which based upon what Mr. Troll is maintaining, he's maintaining all the way to the bank line, but we have 20 feet, so no repairs will need to take place on private property for those improvements.
That's good enough.
That's very good. So, I mean, yes, it will be an inconvenience, but he's actually, we've allowed him to encroach on us instead of us encroaching on him.
Now, that was my only concern with the pond down here, is make sure we're staying far enough away from it.
Right, and that's the reason why we have that surveyed and everything, because I was very concerned based on the usage that we were gonna be on his property,
Cutting in his land. and-
which was gonna need some, Ken work, so we're good.
Item B, Sheree, the inspections and the roads.
Okay, so Bruce and I had roads looked at and storm drains. And we have, as you can see from up there, we have preventative maintenance 42 needs attention 118, and we have some severe issues, there's 24 of those. Of the severe 24 issues, there's 11 that need to be cambered. We need to make sure that a pipe has not separated or it's not clogged before we do repair work on the storm drain boxes themselves. So the last thing, because if the pipe has separated, we may want to look at, we will need to probably look at putting in a solid box and the pipe, as opposed to just being able to remortar the box itself.
It would pretty much be the same situation we got on Cliff Circle.
Yeah.
Last year where the whole road had to be dug up. But the drain pipes that had met, for lack of a better word, collapsed, so to speak, has to be taken out.
11 of them.
There's 11 that we're gonna have.
Doesn't mean all
cambered.
11 are this issue.
Right, and then, so then I asked Eagle what they would charge to camera those, and so we can look and see, you know, is it clogged, is it separated, you know, what's their recommendation? And so they gave us a quote of $4,200 to do that work before we, the last thing we want to do is fix the box and we have a pipe failure.
What's the other 13 severe issues?
It's where the mortar has dried out, because they're brick boxes, they're not solid concrete. So they have to be basically gone into them and remortared, make sure it's sealed.
But the road's not collapsing or
Right.
anything around it, so it's not showing any signs of failure of road bed or anything.
Biggest thing you watch for is, like I said last month, if your storm drain is coming up in the road, it's not growing. It's because the road around it is collapsing. So that's where your issue is. You don't get a issue like that, I can think of.
And
This
then
is
we
our
have,
first step to getting our estimates. that we need
Yes, sir.
Right.
For this,
it's the first step to being, yes, in order for council to be able to make an educated decision on what's going
do you have
on.
money in the budget? Or do we need to-
I do have the $4,200. I verified that with my finance officer this evening.
We didn't need them to approve.
Oh, yes, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to spend $4,200 for Eagle Engineering to camera the 11 locations that have been notified or been.
Identified.
Joe's made a motion, Bruce seconded. Any discussion? One question for you. The 4,200 includes camera and recommendations on repairs or not?
Well, they'll camera it and they'll be able to say, you know, this one, we've got a separated pipe. I mean, it's not gonna be the detail of.
We'll have to
we've
go
got
back to them possibly for some
Possibly,
detail.
but I'm looking for them to be able to tell me,
To give some
yeah.
guidance.
But they usually, when they camera,
They can
especially
tell.
with Kevin involved from Anchor, they kind of communicate between each other. So Kevin has a better idea of
What
what
kind of
needs to be
repair?
done.
Sure. All right. Motion the second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 9C, just to give you a little background on this, where this came from, the street. I had talked with her a month or so ago about all these infrastructure and stormwater problems we've got. And are there other options for funding? Some kind of funding blanket we could do to attack. And one of the things that came to mind was possibly bonds. Actually, it was Joe's idea that what about a bond? So Sheree and Ken spent the past 4 weeks or so looking into bonds and different type bonds and how the bonds work. And it is fairly convoluted and complicated, to say the least. She did talk with the league, who got her in touch with some folks with USDA, who said, well, here's another option that's there, and I'll hand it over to Sheree.
Okay, so the other option is that we can get a loan. So, if the project is to address an aging infrastructure, retention ponds and storm drain boxes throughout the 14.73 miles of road within Lake Park, it would be possible for us to get, if we identify and present the entire scope of the project, everything in here, to the USDA, we could, you know, what the USDA will do is compare the project cost to the village financial capabilities and determine what's feasible. The village must determine what we can afford. But, you know, they'll say, yes, that's feasible, no, that's not feasible, that type of thing. But the Lake Park medium household income, the MHI, is above the state MHI, meaning any potential assistance from the USDA is a loan only. There are no grants available to us because we do not qualify. So based on the MHI, the loan would be subject to the market interest rate, which as of April 1st was 3.5%. And that's subject to quarterly changes. Our current market rate may be less than a conventional bank, but we have to check with 2 other banks to ensure that financing cannot be obtained elsewhere at a reasonable rate and terms. As for historical data of interest rates, from 7/1/22 to 4/1/24, the rate has stayed between 3.25 and 3.75 for the USDA. One thing to note, the rate will be locked in once they obligate. And that's it. At loan closing, the only way the rate would change is if it drops lower. So it's kind of like when you lock into a mortgage, you're locked in at that rate. USDA loans are typically secured by revenue bonds and repaid over a 40-year term. For information on revenue bonds and their requirements, I recommend reaching out to a bond agent, a bond counsel agent, which is where I started when this USDA was identified. And honestly, for us to qualify for a revenue bond, if based on what the league was telling me and the bonding agent I spoke to, those start at $20 million. So
So are they saying that it would have to be secured by a bond, or it says typically secured? That was one of the questions I had.
it said that he responded after I've tried for
Yeah,
a
sure.
week to get him. He responded this afternoon and said, I recommend reaching out to the bond
Okay,
counsel agent. So I'd have to go back to that gentleman.
sure.
But he says the rates established for stormwater would have to be such to cover the loan, reserves, operation, and maintenance of the stormwater system. So, and we already have the enterprise fund stormwater. We have a stormwater enterprise fund.
We really don't. I'm
Okay,
sorry. We don't. know.
okay, well,
That would be pulling it completely out of general fund and creating another fund.
okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay, but we do have, you know, rates in place, so it's not creating the whole wheel. But it would be a separate account, just like Powell Bill is a separate account.
No, it would be much different than that.
Okay. So,
It would be sort of like ARP is a totally different fund, but that's a revenue fund.
okay. So the USDA does not have the authority to come in and set rates for stormwater at the village or create the enterprise fund for you. However, they can refer me to the North Carolina Rural Water and ask them. So it's a lot of work. And I mean that from the standpoint, based on what the original bond agency company told me, I don't think, unless there's something different in here, I don't see how we're gonna qualify for this bond when they start at $20 million. But I'm more than happy to, you know, ask and see if I'm missing the boat here. Is there something that we could get some flexibility? Otherwise, we're going to need to look at what's in fund balance or, you know, other ways to address the issues that we have in our infrastructure.
We have 2 main questions on this. One is the bond, obviously.
Right.
And the other is how much are we gonna need? Which we don't know yet either.
Right.
So, you know,
Kind of got the cart before the horse. A lot of
But,
work, but that's what I want.
but in trying to understand what are our true options, you know, like I said, I can certainly reach out to the North Carolina Rural Water and see where they are and what kind of work is involved in that. I just don't know. If it goes to a bond referendum, then that has to be on the ballot, and then that, you know, is down the road.
The questions that just, and Shreve's answered the questions, but the questions that I had asked was about that bond is, does this mean we have to have a revenue bond? Because it says typically. So if it does, how does, how does that work? Just ask the guy and got the answer back, talking bonding.
It's not an answer.
Right, yeah.
Well, and that's been the one thing that I have found that's, it's very difficult to navigate this. It took me forever to find a bonding agent, and that was through the Town of Indian Trail finally. And the first thing he told me, you know, was, well, I don't think you qualify. And I was like, well, but what are the steps? You know, okay, but what are the steps? And he didn't. So it would take more work to be able to navigate that. So it will be whatever is the pleasure of council.
The other thing too about this is if I'm reading it right, and what you just said is this stormwater enterprise fund, you gotta set a rate that maintain, you gotta set a rate on the people that pay that loan and maintenance.
Yeah.
For that time. So your stormwater fee could go from $55 to $185. Who knows what it is? We don't have any idea again.
Yeah.
We don't know where we're at.
But again, part of this is just trying to see what options there are so that as we get these numbers in, we know
Is that logical?
whether
Is
we
that-
try to attack. Any questions on that?
I think it's good information for us to keep in mind.
Thank you, Sheree.
Also, whenever you borrow any kind of money, if you borrow, $5,000, you have to go to the local government commission in Raleigh, the state treasurer's office. You have to jump through hoops for them too, so, you couldn't do any of this without
Sure.
getting their blessings too.
Right, yes.
And, yeah, issuing bonds is a big deal. A lot of time. Money.
Thank you. Item 10, Parks and Recreation Tree Service, and requesting approval of $2,000 to pay Kiker for the cleanup from the large tree out here. There's a tree out here that had to be removed and some other storm damage throughout the village back at the early April storms. That bill is in, but we've not signed it. Your motion to approve 2,000.
I'll make the motion to approve $2,000 for the tree we already removed.
Joe has made a motion. Is there a second? Approve seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. The doors on the white pool restrooms back here, last year, Steve and John did some repairs on them. I think we put longer screws in the brackets and they got by for a year. I think when they opened them this year, one door was coming off the hinge. I think we kind of knew last year we were getting by with a last one more year repair. Anyway, John from M2 Construction has quoted $4,200 to take those out, replace them with the same doors that were over here, the fiberglass doors that we put into the blue pool house last year. So we request approval for that.
Will we see a contract for that between us and them before that happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I've asked that before, so I just want to make sure we get it.
Is there a contract that they can miss?
Just if it comes up, I just was asking.
And
But I'll make a motion.
anything you would want in the contract too was.
No, I mean, he does a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a good job on all the other doors, because he did these doors too.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion, $4,200 into construction.
Steve made a motion, Jim second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Just with the contract, it gives us what they actually do.
Right. And it'll be similar to the one for the 4 doors. That price is basically the same thing, or the 3 doors. How many did you do over there, Steve?
On the other one, we did four, two.
Well, it's right, there's a double door in one.
There's a double door, he did another one, I mean, he did a whole lot more doors.
Mark, information on the Red Cross.
Well, we only had 7 people signed up last month, or for the last month, for the thing. I talked to Jeremy about it and Cherie, and basically it's like, when they opened up that new place over by the ABC store, by Food Line over there, it's taken away a lot of the people that come here. And it just doesn't seem to make much sense to do it any longer. We have two people, actually. You had sent an email requesting to basically end it. However, I looked at the site the other day and they still have us scheduled for the next two. And we actually have a couple that signed up for the next one.
They've not replied to that email. So, well, I'll just get on that again tomorrow.
Did you sign up?
Well, also, this new, the new place, on my Food Line, they called me 3 times this week, wanting me to come in for plasma donations and this, that, and everything, and they stay on the phone until you make an appointment. I mean, I had to say, I'm a blood ambassador. I know what this is about. Don't call me. Jeez.
Girls on the Run had over 1,100 folks in the village. The different numbers you can see there. I've seen that photograph. There were a lot of people. They were very appreciative to be able to use the village. They're making a donation of $1,500 back to the village. With Park and Rec, very likely talked about it last month. With the thought of probably putting that in trees, with planting some trees throughout the village. With that money. So we haven't determined that for sure, but they are making $1,500 donation.
And they sent me a little gift bag, delivered it to my front door with some cookies in there and whatnot. Thank you for delivering 2 sets of flyers for them. That was nice of them.
The Memorial Day tribute will be on Memorial Day, the 27th at 12:30 p.m. The guest speaker is Mr. Dennis Helms in Bruce Got Forest. Independence Day celebration, that planning is underway. It'll be on that Thursday, July 4th. One last thing that we added is $2,500 with Lucas to clear an area down at Veterans Pond. If you go down Veterans Pond and you've walked it, you know that there's a sidewalk that kind of meanders through the woods from one side of Crest to the other. Well, we've for a long time maintained the right-hand side of that natural area, but the left-hand side is in bad shape. Now, to be quite honest, the neighbors from somewhere are taking limbs and their debris and whatnot, and they've scattered it in there. But there are some trees down, there are a couple of trees that need to come down. There's a lot of underbrush. It's not clean at all. A resident had emailed or came down and talked to Cherie and said, I don't understand, y'all keep that side clean, but you don't do this side. I wasn't honestly sure where the line is in there between our property and the church's line. We dug out that information and went over and met with Lucas and asked them, A, are you capable of taking these small trees down that are leaning and whatnot? Can you clean the underbrush up, get it looking like the other side? They weed eat that other side about once a month and keep it down. So once we get this down, that'll do this same thing over there. So it's $2,500 to clean it up. That does include 2 dump truck loads of stuff hauling off. If they don't have 2 dump trucks, if it's only 1, then they will charge for the second one. Just FYI, so that, but they're spitballing it best they can.
We send a note to those neighbors or everyone just to stop putting stuff in it.
I don't think there'd be any problem with sending a note around that end of the cul-de-sac, because it's clearly somebody's dumping in there with leaves and limbs.
I'll see it.
Is there a motion to approve $2,500 to Lucas for that?
Put a motion to approve for the 500 under the
Park maintenance.
park maintenance.
I'll second that.
Jim's made a motion, Steve seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those doors for the pool house, I should have said too, that's gonna come out of park maintenance as well. There may be, we did the repair to the water line out of that as well. We didn't appropriate any money. All I'm saying is in June, we could have to do a budget amendment if we need to, but it's because of some extra stuff that's came about. We'll cross that bridge when we need to. Planning board update, Steve?
Yeah, the planning board meeting, this past month, we had a couple of items we discussed. Ken brought up the idea of having an alternate in for the Board of Adjustments. They talked about that a little bit. Do we need one was one of the comments. Why would we need one? And things like that. I think they came to the conclusion, yeah, they probably would need one, but they've talked through a little bit about what that would look like, but it could could have somebody like a member that's no longer on the board, retired mayor, retired councilman, somebody like that on it. Ken did suggest you need somebody that's gonna come to the meetings and know what's going on. So that was the first thing we discussed. And the second thing we spent time on was the fee schedule. So we compared it to, you know, all the local jurisdictions and what theirs were. That's where we presented last time at the budgeting meeting.
Right.
Those increases, but those are the two things we talked about.
Yeah, and no meeting this month, correct?
No meeting this month.
All right, any questions? Thank you. Waste collection, Jim.
Okay. Today, probably around 10:30 this morning, we finally got the contract back from wastewater. I did spend 2 hours today going through that contract. There are some things that they took out. Sheree and I are gonna meet tomorrow to go through it and then send it off to Ken. And at that same time, we're gonna send it off to every council member. We want to go through that before we send it off. I do have some comments that I do need to talk to Sheree about. So I'm gonna bring this up right now. Inside the contract, in our current contract and in this contract, we have provisions for a hot load. And in discussions, we increased the fines if they have a hot load. We've never had a hot
Find
load.
a hot load. 'Cause I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna go down what a hot load is. And a hot load is somebody put something of hazardous waste, I'm just gonna use the term hazardous waste and call it a battery, whatever. When it goes through, it comes through the compressed in the truck, and it catches fire. Smoldering, catches fire, whatever, they have to dump it on the road to extinguish it. That could be put in water, chemical, whatever it is. That's considered a hot load. Then there was like I said, this has never happened in here. But the question, we wanted to, the current contract calls for $100 if they don't, after 4 hours, they don't pick it up. And we can charge them $100. And if it happened again, in a reasonable time frame, it wasn't picked up, we can assess them a $200 fine, which for them is nothing. And for us, it's still nothing. You can look at this and say, it's never happened. If it does happen, what is going to happen? They're our contractor. They're going to pick it up. If they don't pick it up, we're going to, we can fire them. The other side of that is, it's $1.2 million for the next person.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, who we're gonna go to?
Where are you gonna go to? So we want to recoup our costs. In the discussions, we talk to them, well, what would you do? If you have insurance, no, we'd go after the homeowner. And so question that, is up there, and Ken, you can opine on this, is a thought process here is, we have never anywhere said anything to the homeowners. We say, you can't put stuff, this is what we can recycle, this is what's in here, don't do certain things. But it's never written anywhere. We want to develop, I want to develop some educational materials, and I want to, this is something that I think we need to address. If, I'm just gonna say, maybe this is talking somewhere around, I'm throwing a ball figure out there, $30,000 to clean up. There's, whatever is that, in that hot load, whatever it is, eats the road. Now you have to fix the road, or the sidewalk, or when they're scooping it up with a front loader, or something happens. We have no idea, so this could escalate up if it's a possibility. The risks right now, I don't even want to say it's highly unlikely, because we have no idea what people are throwing in there. So
We've never had it.
we've never had one. But the question is, and they had said that we can pretty much know what house it came from. If not what house, we can put it down to 2, maybe 3 houses. That is, they have cameras that are looking at everything that goes into the back of that truck, as well as on the side of the truck. They get cameras all the way around it that are recording everything. So they could see something, go back, what it was, go back to where. They said usually when that happens, it happens within 10 houses. And that's when the thing will start smoldering or catch on fire or whatever it is. And then they said they would go back to the homeowners. So do we, as a village, need to have, and I'm just gonna say this, an ordinance that says, hey, for waste collection, you cannot do these different things. If so, you may be liable. I mean, the homeowner could be liable for that stuff. I'm throwing that out to Ken right now. I know, Ken, I'm hitting you without saying anything to you prior to this. But that is something that, that is still in the contract. They have not said anything that they won't be culpable for it. None of that is the fines that they put in there. You know, we had a high number into, $10,000 or something in there to say, don't let this happen, whatever. They reduced it down to, I think, 1,000 and 3,000, I think were the two different ones they reduced it to.
So we were 100, we went to 10,000.
We were 100 today, and we went up to 10,000 to say, hey, you know, make it so this doesn't happen, but they said, it's not their trash. We'll go back to the homeowner, which internally to me raised some alarms that I wanted to bring out here to say, is this something that we, as a council, to determine, should we put something in place or don't?
Enforcement would be about, because if it's the last 7 or last 10 people, you know, they come to me and said, did you put that in there? No, I didn't do it. What was that? I mean,
You're right.
you're gonna have
They-
to prove that it's that actual.
They
Unless they
said
can
that they-
pinpoint it out, then they're at a loss on that. But
Right,
my big thing with saying something with an ordinance is, I don't know that we can even write an ordinance that would allow a third party to fine one of our residents.
Well,
That's what it would
well,
be basically in
yeah.
essence doing, correct?
no, I'm not saying it will allow a third party to fine, I'm saying put an ordinance out there, putting them on notice, this is not acceptable, and if it then, you could be fined. Not saying they would be. I don't know,
No,
they
no,
said that they
Yeah,
could come down
fine.
to within,
Find back.
well, that was the whole thing. The trash belongs, the Village of Lake Park has contracted. The trash belongs to the Village of Lake Park.
up until it
It
goes to the
leaves
disposal
the
site.
until it leaves at the disposal site, it's our trash.
Yes,
You've got trash cans sitting at the curb.
Mhm.
How are you going to prove that the person who put that up there, I mean, anybody
I
can
don't
come in through the night and load your trash can.
Yeah, I
It's
put
been
mine in the
done.
strange trash can last night.
Huh?
I put all mine in Mark's.
Pass it by.
so I understand what you're saying.
So I'm not sure, are you trying to,
Right.
are you trying to limit your own potential liability or cost, exposure related to one of those things happening? So the village has somebody to go back on, or are you trying to empower Waste Pro?
I'm not trying to empower Waste Pro at all. I'm
Because,
trying
because when it
protect
comes to the,
village.
when it comes to the village, I mean, I guess from a liability standpoint, I guess I can see somebody trying to work up some kooky claim, you know, that somehow the failure to notify a person was negligent on your part regarding the lack of incendiary device or incendiary material placement in their trash, you know, which created a fire. Yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty much far-fetched to me. And where I think you make a good point that using your literature as a mechanism to inform villagers that they can or can't do that. And I think their own negligence to engage in doing something that creates an incendiary circumstance is something that can always be gone against, regardless of the existence of an ordinance or not. I also agree with the audience. And I think somebody else has brought up here too. It starts to become, those cameras, yeah, that sounds nice, but I'm not sufficient. I do enough electronic provision of materials to know that if that's really in the eye of the beholder as to how good and quality that is to be approved something in, specifically. So, I mean, I tend to salute you. I thought they were gonna maybe hardball you with that. I think somehow this little issue's come across me. I'm not sure how. I thought they were gonna try to hardball you, with like that $100 figure. You've got about the $3,000 for cleanup or whatever. I don't know. It seems you've done a good job. I don't know why you, I don't know that you need to go any further, but
Like I said, I just want, I just wanted to bring this out just to know, like I said, we've never had this happen.
right.
You know, Waste Pro is treating us great for the time.
I mean,
we've been
if
here.
Waste Pro has an event that causes them to expend $3,000 and they want to go after the homeowner for the homeowner's
That's on
negligence,
them.
that's their
That's
deal.
it, right.
And they're not gonna do it over $3,000, by the way. They're
Well-
not, it would have to be something significantly larger, like maybe their truck got burned up, I don't
Burn the
know.
road up. the
Yeah.
road, that's-
See,
Right,
it could be
yeah,
some
I just-
damage
yeah.
to the truck, it could be damage to the road, they have to come in here with a backhoe and another truck to put it all in, or I'll say an open dump truck to put it all into, to track it out of here. So there's
I mean, I guess
other
there could be
costs
costs that
involved.
would come up, you're right, but of course, they can, I mean, ultimately, they can, there's always risk that occurs with any circumstance. So do you risk an event occurring where they're gonna pay $3,000 and that's not gonna satisfy what the expense is and it falls on the village to repair the road to the extent of another $2,000 or $3,000 or $10,000? I mean, that might happen. I mean, it's possible. The likelihoods are low. It's possible, but you just have to weigh, whether or not you want to try to, how you would go about dealing with that. And I'm not sure that I think an ordinance does it, although there may be out there that I'm unaware of. So I'm not
I
sure.
haven't looked to see if there was anything out there, I just, as we were talking, as we were negotiating, it was never said, well, the trash belongs to us, but it's written in the contract, they would turn around and say, they would go after the homeowner.
Right.
Which,
That's in the contract,
no,
that they would seek,
that's not in the
remuneration
contract,
from
they
the homeowner.
said that they would go after the homeowner for
which again
reimbursement.
is their call. I mean, I don't, if you're, again, I think, if you're trying to create the ordinance to protect the homeowners in some way, I don't think it protects them. I think it's still, they're still subject to their own negligent behavior. Anyone is.
But educational material.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea to include, to even say, it may be negligence on your part to include incendiary materials in your trash. Don't do that.
I think that's some education they should do. It's their trouble.
Right, but I think it's
So I
a
would
good
think they
point.
should be educating them what you.
Well,
put
I'm not
down.
sure who provides the educational
Yeah.
materials. I think it may very well be Waste Pro.
Cause I think
Maybe right.
if we start writing that, we do leave something off in it. becomes
Yeah,
an
but I
issue
think
for
it's,
us.
I think your position is very.
I
well
just
taken.
asked Joe, he's been here over 20 years. There's never been a situation with hot trash
Mhm.
in any truck, so maybe we should just move past this. I mean, I'm not saying you're creating, no, I'm not saying you're creating, I'm saying Waste Pro seems to be creating something that's illogical. Well, I was on council 8 years ago or 9 years ago, probably 8 years ago, I started the unofficial Facebook page. And I remember I used to post stuff like that where I'd go to and try to get the hazardous materials that you shouldn't throw away and all this stuff. And then I'd go to Waste Pro or whatever their website, you can't find anything. So then you find something that Waste Pro uses in another city. But then again, that doesn't apply here. Let's say, for instance, we're down to 2 cities in Union County now have their recyclables done. And some people will take, the wrap around the water bottle case, but some people will say it's okay to put there, some literature you get, it's not. So we need some type of updated literature from Waste Pro.
Yeah, because from an advice standpoint, and Steve's point, I think less is more. Which is, don't engage in more because you open up more doors, whereas the less is, you already had a contractual term that covers the circumstance if it comes up. And if something goes super haywire, fingers are gonna get pointed anyway, and you don't wanna have hanging out in the wind an area where someone has a more effective way to point their finger.
So, thank you, okay? My
That's off the
question's
cuff,
been
by the way.
answered, but, so like I said, Sheree and I are gonna go through the contract tomorrow afternoon. And then, looking to get that out to all council. And you know, Ken, you said you're gonna need,
Yeah, and I say this for me, but I'm saying it for the council members too. It seems like it's fair, is it fair to have an expectation they have engaged in a significant rewrite of what the contract was as opposed to what it is now? Okay,
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Sorry.
so,
And their legal team reviewed the.
Judy was,
Disposal, waste, the biggest problem I see are these batteries, everything is battery operated. The little A's and triple A's, and then now we have the lithiums, and we have all this lawn equipment, which is battery operated. And I don't see anything that, what do you do if one of these goes in, because those things can explode and create fires.
Yeah, it tells you not to
And
throw it in
reported
your garbage if you go out to the website. There's places you can return those, recycle those.
I don't see it advertised.
I think it's Lowe's or somewhere has a place, a box that you could put them in. I think it's Home Depot or Lowe's
Well, maybe you need to put that in
newsletter.
the news.
There was something with batteries in the newsletter, wasn't there?
I thought so.
Or-
It was
or
on the
something.
it's on
On the
my
website?
website, it's on your website.
Well,
it was in the bill.
there's
Yeah, it was
people
in the
that
bill.
go to websites,
About batteries.
believe it or not.
But we can make people more
Can't
aware.
see them.
oh, I know, that's what I'm saying, I want educational materials to get out to the people of what you can, what you can't, batteries are not permissible in the environments.
I know they're not that visible. People need to be reminded of it. And where to take them. Where they can't take them.
So I guess, once you and Sherry go through the contract, and then you'll get it out to
I'll get it out,
council members.
get it out to council members, and kind of give council members, time to
Right.
come back. If we have anything, that's gotta go to Ken. So Ken needs, he says he needs about 2 weeks
Need some time, yeah.
to go through
What
this.
is our timeline for wanting to approve the contract?
Well, we have, well, two questions. We want to get this, we want to get it approved by June 11th at our meeting. There it is. So whatever anything that we make for changes, they got to approve too.
Right.
So we're in crunch.
We are.
Now, I did send an email out to Waste Pro about if this doesn't happen by June 11th,
Right.
you know, we need to extend this for this contract for another 30 days. And the current contract allows for 12 months. So we extended for 3. And they haven't responded back yet, but I've asked them for another 30 days if we don't get it approved by June 11th.
Have y'all already extended it once?
We did once, yeah.
Yeah, so
for the
there's some
3
sort of
months.
extension,
Yeah.
addendum there.
Yes.
Anything else on that?
No, that's everything on that. Thank you.
Sherry, anything from you on that?
No, I think, we'll go through it and then we'll get it out to you guys. And then I would say to you, that if you have any questions, send them to Jim and let's try to get these things nailed down, but it's gonna take some time. And hopefully you'll notice the definitions and all. In some ways, it's more readable. In other ways, it's like, what? So hopefully it'll flow pretty good. We're just trying to get to that point.
Streets and sidewalks, Bruce?
Oh, there. We have streets, we have sidewalks. All right, we're taking out 2 cul-de-sacs, and surprise, surprise. We started digging into Hoover where we did not believe there was a storm drain. There was one under all the earth. So it's like we uncovered a time capsule. So that did raise the price, $850. Nothing much we could do, it's gotta be done.
Can you turn back now?
No,
We're just gonna, as we move forward with the removal of cul-de-sacs, we'll really have to inspect the heck out of them.
or just plan that there's one hidden somewhere.
And how would you ever have known?
You
I
would
mean,
never
maybe
got
there's
one.
one under everyone, who
Yeah.
knows, but plant a tree on top, man, to me, it's just crazy.
Well, welcome to Union County. So,
All right, Thank you, Bruce.
Freeway stop sign that Mr. Scaldera and I have talked about. And there have been a few accidents there. I almost got clipped myself the other day. I was coming up to the corner, Portland, Mimosa, Mother Teresa, excuse me. And this gal in a van come around the corner, and at the last second, she had to swerve her wheel to avoid clipping me in the left front. So I don't think it's a bad idea to do the stop signs. I got an estimate on the signs, maybe $560 for the 2 signs, and then I've got to get a hold of Rich and Caroline Striping and see how much that would add to the price he's already given us on the prep that he's gonna do. But it's only 2 stop bars and the word stop. You know, it wouldn't be too terrible. I don't think he'd add more than $50 bill, to tell you the truth. He might even say, I'll just take care of it. But I don't think it's a bad idea at all. You know, Joe and I talked about this some time ago, and then we kind of.
We brought it up before and it just kind of disappears, I guess is what we talk about. I go through there frequently and it just drives me crazy the way people just take it so tight right there. And we do have a lot of residents complain about speeding on Portland right there. And we all know that not everybody's gonna stop, but some will slow down and hopefully that'll help.
Yeah.
It'll help that and get people to not cut that turn as tight.
Right.
It's just dangerous because people, they just fly right through there.
They're insane why they cut that.
So I've thought about it for a while, and like I said, we've talked about it before, and just never gone anywhere with it. So after the accident that happened there, I guess about a month ago,
About 3 weeks.
yeah, there was an accident there, and I, mentioned it to Jeremy and Bruce, like, hey, maybe it's time to do that.
Maybe, I know it was almost an accident 2 days ago. I really thought this gal had no place to go, there's no time to even punch reverse and get back.
We put one of those stripes down,
To know where to turn.
like we did like Craft.
Works good.
It worked on Brett. It
Yeah, I
has
think it's
worked.
helped.
We have the one on, well, we have the line there at the stop sign on Cortland. You know, trying to bring it to people's attention.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Well,
it
stop
breaks
walking.
up the road.
Yeah,
I think it's helpful.
Steve-
I
Steve
think
makes a
you
good
came up with an
point.
idea, I think it
Yeah,
helped.
and Rich did that yellow
Mhm.
spike
Part right there, yeah.
Clifton. So, yeah, most people do
Go around it
go
now.
around it now, they don't cut it down in the middle, unless somebody's really insane. You always gonna have those, but that's not a good idea. Somebody didn't know
But
it's
it's not, yeah,
$5,
it's not that much more. I'd put it in, I think it's a benefit.
so.
Jim, Mark, anything, any comments? Any comments?
I know that area needs it. I've been on Mother Teresa and people don't even stop. They just roll through that stop sign. When the sheriffs are out there, yeah, they stop, but beyond that, most people blow it.
Almost got hit the other intersection the other morning, somebody didn't even stop, I stopped to go across. And they come flying down, what's that,
Conifer.
Conifer? And I looked on the back of the car in front of me, it was a student driver.
A lot of people.
I'm sure it was the parents.
A lot of people don't let you know, they just touch the brake and go.
They didn't even touch the brake.
Bruce, are you making a motion to make Mother Teresa and Cortland a 3-way stop?
Yes, I am, I would like to make a motion.
Bruce made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Joe, second, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Do you have enough money for the 850, the first one?
For the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, that's gonna be in the park maintenance, park maintenance gonna come out, of it. And I plugged it in today to make sure it was whatever,
And the
12,950,
three-way stop
and I
too?
added that. The 3-way stop is included in this quote from the village signage
Right.
that we're about to talk about.
We'll get closer. Potholes and road issues. We've got 41 potholes. And we've got patches where the whole strip across the street has to be done, because it's like one big giant pothole, you know what I'm saying? Try to patch it piecemeal is ridiculous. Breaks down to 25,000, you got a breakdown on that, it's, you have 13,000 in sidewalk repairs and 9,000 for those strips that have to be replaced. That brings it to 25,000. I would like to get approval for that.
13,000 for sidewalk?
No, did I say sidewalk?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I only have one cup of coffee. Don't write that down.
I'm not. I was
It's
confused.
13,000 for potholes.
Okay.
Sorry about that. When we get to 13,000 for sidewalk, we're in big trouble.
Is it 13,000 for potholes?
Right, and 9,000. Anyway,
That's
I
22.
think it's 16 and 9.
16 and 9, yeah, sorry about that. Told you, I only had one cup of coffee with dinner.
Bruce, what streets in here are not owned by the village? You know
Not
that?
owned by the village?
Yeah, like the one you said beside the,
Oh.
The restaurant, is that the only
Mexican
one?
restaurant. That's the only one, because that's like a parking lot, it's not even a street, and that belongs to the.
Deeded to the HOA, to that, you know,
It's
that
deeded to
ownership
that,
or whatever.
Right.
it's deeded to that HOA, that
Right.
entrance and egress. The same with the one that's between Miss Dee Dee's and the townhomes over there.
Same thing.
Because originally it was planned that you would come in on Miss Dee Dee's side, go behind, and it would come out there beside the Mexican restaurant. All of that was parking.
All right, moving right along,
Wait a minute.
So wait,
You
that,
made a motion,
Right.
you're making a
I made the
motion.
motion,
and that would come out of the Powell bill account?
yes.
Bruce has made a motion for $25,000 Powell bill expense to repair the 41 identified potholes of the 8 larger patches. There are more potholes. These were the 41 on the main streets, if I'm correct.
Right, I didn't go into the side streets.
Why aren't you doing that street?
What's,
That's gonna be the comment, get ready.
Bruce has made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Do you have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
and I want to say thank you to Jeremy for the loan of the golf cart, which did make it a lot easier than me going 300 feet, getting out of my van, walking over, spraying it, getting back in my van, doing another 300 feet. The only thing is, I wish you get some air ride in that thing. And a little bump on it, you know you did it, oh my
We're
lord.
gonna have to go through the ordinance review committee meeting, and see what you said about the golf carts.
Oh, I know
I
it.
think I remember you said, I don't think we need it.
Well, I was okay with what I was doing, but it was a great aid that Jeremy loaned that to me. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
We don't have a question. Question?
I was just asking if we had gotten the quotes.
And then I told her that the last job that we quoted,
Oh, yeah.
they were substantially cheaper than anybody else. The other two,
And some outfits don't even want to come
They
into
won't
the
even
Monroe
come
area.
see us.
They want to touch it. Red Clay being one of them. And they had done work for us, I think, 5 years ago,
and they do work for Indian Trail.
right? But they don't want to come in here.
We're too small.
Have we used Casey Site Concepts before?
Yes,
This is
that's,
people.
that's Anchor Construction.
That's Anchor.
It's one of their.
What Anchor
subsidiaries.
Construction has done, just to enlighten everybody. Anchor is a big company. They do $300,000-400,000 contracts. This was kind of a phone call and got together and he came in and developed a nice relationship. And he said it'd be good for fill-in when guys are not working. But then what's happened, excuse me, is the cost has really exceeded any type of leveling profit, even the 10% profit. So he and his partner developed a second company known as KC Concepts. And that's a lower budget firm. Costs are much lower as far as equipment, et cetera. That's what he's billing us for now is KC Concepts, which is fine. It's the same address, it's the same phone number. I have his partner's name and information, should we need it. And I say he's doing the right thing all the way around. I've had no issues.
Sure, he gave you updated.
I have
Insurance.
updated insurance and W-9.
All right, item 4, Bruce.
Item 4, doing a lot of signage around, just to bring everybody, try to bring everybody up to date. The speed bump signs on Creft, Conifer, and Lake Park Road, the wooden ones, were rotted to a point where they were like leaning, ready to fall. So all those braces were replaced. Also, moving right along with my notes here. Yeah. When we redo the lines, Carolina striping, he's also gonna do the parking lot out here. And we're gonna do a third handicap parking spot next to the existing two we already have. So there's gonna be a post and a sign that will pretty much match what we have now. So it looks proper. Playground signs, if you, none of us really go to the playground anymore, we're a more mature group here. But if you really look at them, you can't read them. They're totally washed out from the sun. So that's another signage replacement. The ones that they're gonna put in, if we approve the quote, pretty much are indestructible. The sun cannot beat them to death. Okay, it's a process which I'm not familiar with, but it doesn't fade with sun. It's etched in where it's etched. I think that's a very good idea. Just that alone, just to give you an FYI, the playground signs would be $1,750. That's for 5 signs. Just on that piece. The pet waste stations, excuse me, you can't even read them. You know, so maybe that's why some people are not using pet waste stations, who knows? But they're gonna redo all the pet waste stations, which there's 12 of them. There'll be a decal that goes on, and they'll also have the number on it, 1 through 12. So we know which one needs trash bags or what have you. That's an expenditure that's gonna run $310.
Should that come out of stormwater, since the pet waste stations are a stormwater function and this account is street signs?
Suppose it could, I never thought of that. That's why we have it. Makes sense.
We really have 12 pet waste stations.
Yes, well, if you don't have a dog, you don't know, I never know. And trust
We
me,
can take the 3.
some of them, you don't wanna walk in there.
It's funny.
The sign on Crefton Meeting Street, down here right in the middle of the village, is almost unreadable. The sun has totally bleached Meeting Street and Crest sign out and the pole. So I got a quote on that, getting that done, which is $521. That's for the pole and 2 new signs. That's all in this $5,259.
How much was pet waste station, 300 even?
Wait a minute. Go back up.
I think it was 310.
310.84. And then the 2 stop signs, as I mentioned, they're $594.06. That's, you know, the poles and signs.
Those are regulatory, those 2 can come out of Powellville. The 2 stop signs, because they're regulatory if you wanted to take it out of there.
Makes sense.
No matter to me.
I like it.
We just need to back in, we still can appropriate $2,000.
Yeah.
You might buy more signs anyway for the year. I think if my numbers are right, 3559 is what was available. So we've got to appropriate some funds from somewhere. I just put contingency on there. We were talking about it. There's $8,300 there that hasn't been touched. So
It looks like 3440 is available. It's just
Some of
sort of a little bit
yeah,
less.
another bill stands inside.
Yeah.
So that's.
But 2,000 would be good.
Is there a motion to approve, to appropriate $2,000 from contingency to signs, street signs?
I'll make a motion.
Bruce made a motion. Second. Jim second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve fast signs in the 3 different manners that we've talked about? Some out of signs, some out of stormwater, and some out of Powellville. Yeah, is there a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Bruce made a motion.
Let them spearhead this.
Second.
I'll second.
Steve second. Any further discussion? Sure, you'll get those numbers right.
Yes,
All
sir.
those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Just one last thing I wanted to point out. Jeremy and I talked about the village signs, and we kind of changed Portland, State Church Road down by Seacrest Shortcut Road and Lake Park Road, although that sign's not up yet, thanks to 2 massive hornet nests that decided to embed themselves in the pole. And they were not about to try to, they got attacked. And then I called Jeremy, and he put on his beekeeper suit and went out and took care of it. I know I was nothing, anything. But it's now three new signs, excuse me. Village of Lake Park, corporate limit, speed limit. All right, on there, and there's also the Purple Heart State signs that we have, new ones, and the old ones, totally new stuff. And the neighborhood watch signs, when you want that. So that pretty much incorporated all the way on those three locations.
Thanks, sir.
That's it for me.
Joe, lighting and electrical?
All right, the decorative poles, Brad Hayes now has our list and is going through it to figure out what Union Power can do. He did say that he's worked on a lot of them before and doesn't know, but they will revisit each one of them and check it out and let us know what's going on. We ran into another situation that several of you guys actually helped out. One of the poles that's in front of the new event center, the old ice cream shop, whatever you want to call it, Lake Park Cafe. Steve sent me a picture of the day of Girls on the Run with the acrylic globe knocked off and where it was. I went to go check it out and noticed that the pole itself was very loose and kind of bent too. It was not one that Bruce had listed on his list, and he had one right across the street listed, so we knew it was something that was rather frequent or really happening.
Yeah.
So I called Cherie and talked with her about it, and we also noticed at that time too that the several porta johns were there for the Girls on the Run. So Cherie called Waste Pro, and the cameras that we've been talking about were able to pick up. Yep, they did it. And it's going to be an expensive repair too, because not only is the entire pole going to have to be replaced, it cracked the foundation. So there's cracks in the foundation, and Waste Pros agreed to take care of it. So we're working on getting a quote for that to be repaired, and that should be coming soon. So that worked out good. Thanks everybody for all the help on that. It really helped us put 1 + 1 + 1 and what went on, and we were able to do it in a timely manner where they still had the video. And it did it, so that saved us a huge expense, so that's good there. And I still haven't had any words yet from Brad though on the poles that Bruce identified for us, so we're still waiting on that. I did kind of on the sort of on the same note, I did today, Cherie sent me the electric bill, the most recent electric bill. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but so much, but I did kind of look at some of the lights, and yes, they did go down like we were expecting, so that was our one good thing with the budget the other day, so that was good. So we do have that. The clock tower audio issue has been temporarily fixed because everything's inside the clock tower now. I did, they just worked there a second, but I did order a device that would allow us to remove the computer section back inside here into the closet and transmit RF over there to the amplifier still being there. First one I ordered, I didn't like. It had a hum in it that I think would probably drive people crazy. I don't know what, I tried it at my house and just went from my house into the garage to see, and you can just hear a hum, and I can imagine it hooked up to that, the hum. The complaints we would have on that side, I'm looking for something a little bit taken out. At first I was looking and I could only find stuff that it was all under $100, but then I started looking more professional stuff. And I think I'll have something here very quickly to fix that.
Ordinance Review Committee?
Ordinance Review Committee has not met. We had an April meeting that we canceled because we just basically several people couldn't make it, and we really didn't have everything all together. One of the big things, one of the ordinances we've been looking into, the social district ordinance. Jim's been working on that, but he's had to put that on the back burner because of the obvious trash contract that kind of takes precedent on that. So he's working on that. We will have our next meeting on June 17th. That is also a swim meet night, so it might be noisy, but we'll figure it out. We'll get it taken care of, and hopefully we'll have some of the other little issues that we've talked about in the past taken care of, some special parking and a few different other questions. So we'll move on to that. All right. Virtual assistants only left up there in case anybody has any questions about it, of anything. The menu's been changed. Any questions? I'm gonna work on the menu for the pool right now. Just says when it's going to be opened. I will have sub menus on it soon for every question that possibly could come up with. So any more, passes, how much are they, this.
Yeah, no, the office, with it ringing to Sarah first and then over to me,
Mhm.
that has worked great.
Good. Good.
So if she's there, then she picks up, and if she's not, then it rings on over to me.
Yeah, so
Or you guys can just dial 101 and get me directly, but, that's been awesome.
I'm glad that helps out. The next thing going over to Ring Central is, not really much updates with them. We got our main parts, and we still have billing issues going on with them that they are ridiculous on. Their customer service with Spectrum is terrible. And the enterprise part of Spectrum is terrible. We've had nothing but issues, but we're ongoing. Hopefully we'll get that taken care of. We will have, if anybody has any concerns over it, within the next few days or so, Cherie and I will be getting together to set up her mobile phone with the Ring Central app so that she can act like she's here when she's not here. And she can call out, make it look like she's here, and she can receive calls like it looks like she's here. So that'll help with her upcoming Fridays being out of the office.
Yeah, well, and the emails work great. If we don't miss a call, because then I can just turn around and call someone.
It's not exactly 100% accurate.
No, but it's, as long as the number works, it's
Uh-huh.
okay.
I had something the other day that I got somebody left me a voicemail that I better just listen to this.
Yeah.
So, but everything's been working good on that with Ring Central, so that's been a good move.
All right, thank you. Special project update, Cherie, anything from the land use?
Yes. Another piece of paper here. They have submitted their fourth submittal to NCDOT. And it has that was submitted on April 23rd of 24, and it has the dedicated right turn lane on Indian Trail, Unionville Road. So that's the fourth submittal going to them. Union County Public Works, they've got their third submittal that went back to them on April the 8th. They received comments back this week, and DRB has a meeting with them to figure out what's going on, because they responded to the first plan that was submitted, not the third plan. So that's a little entertaining. They had submitted CDs to the village, which I had given to Eagle to review. And that's on hold until the dam study is completed in Raleigh. They received initial comments requesting more information from the reviewing agency, and they resubmitted those today on the dam study. And once that study has been reviewed, they will resubmit to the village, and that'll be their third submittal on that stormwater retention pond. And just so you know, the Interceptor project has been, Union County bid that project out, and it has been awarded. So that's a big step in the right direction as far as addressing our water sewer issues. And Doug Atlas met with Union Grove HOA in early April. That's a new HOA board, and they had him stake the property lines, and he's requested a new meeting with them. They are very concerned about the trees that have grown up between their property and the old cement place in the very back of Lucas's. So DRB's having to jump through some hoops, but that's where we are with that.
Ripple fiber, anything?
Yep, and Ripple Fiber, it is true, gentlemen, I know you don't believe this, but they have activated the fiber optic service, started May 17th.
They activated what?
The optic services
Oh, okay.
for the village. And they will continue until all pre-orders have been activated. So they will go live on the 17th of May with people that haven't installed. They will be contacting the homeowners to schedule their appointments for technicians inside to activate the service. There is a huge demand, and the uptake of orders, it's going to take some time to get everyone activated. But the service will be activated in the order that their pre-orders were placed in phases. So was it you that said that you weren't on the list?
I signed up and
You're at the
it was
end,
not yet.
so.
They still haven't put the NID up on my house yet.
Okay. But they're very excited. If you still want to pre-order and waive the 200 installation charge, that is still going on. And you have two options. You have a 4 gig internet service package for $55. And that means 250 Mbps's uploaded and downloaded. And then you've got the 1 gig internet service package that's $85. And that's 1 gig uploading and downloading.
I had a couple of people contact me this week about Ripple, one of which lives on the last townhome right up against Faith Church. And she basically has these pictures of the people in their backyard with trench machines going through and installing the little black box on the side of her place. And she said, I never ordered it.
Her HOA, tell her to talk to her HOA because they had to get approval from the HOAs to put them on the.
She said she never even ordered the service to begin with.
I understand, but if the HOA gave them approval to do that,
Everybody gets it.
everybody
Oh,
gets
okay.
it. So she needs to talk to her
That
HOA.
sounds like a question. Thanks.
So that would be how they did that.
Yeah, some posted today about cutting a couple of cable lines. People didn't have cable.
There's another post on the unofficial page today, a bunch of people going, they're cutting our yard again, and I'm not gonna use them. It's like, I'm not even gonna respond.
So
It's the
those
same
are
one.
those two.
All right, thank you. Item C is discussion on the November referendum, which we handled last month. When Sharice sent the resolution to the Board of Elections, there was some new verbiage that they needed, there was some additional verbiage they needed added to the resolution. So Joe will read the new resolution and then we'll need to.
I've talked with Sheree about it. We're just going to, as long as it's okay, we're just going to amend the resolution from if you guys got this all in your packet here, page 1, page 2. I'm going to amend, I'll make a motion to amend the resolution for the last part of it, the part that would be on the ballot, for it to state to permit the sale of mixed beverages in hotels, restaurants, private clubs, community theaters, and convention centers, and the on-premises and off-premises sales of malt beverages and unfortified wine in qualified establishments, instead of the original language that was in the first resolution, which was to permit the sale of mixed beverages in hotels, restaurants, private clubs, community theaters, and convention centers. So I'd like to make the motion to amend the resolution as said.
Joe made a motion to amend the resolution, Bruce second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Thank you. Item E, discussion on amending the council meeting schedule. Joe had brought this up at our last meeting and he said we'd go long. I don't know what makes you say that. As we know, we start at 7 o'clock now. The meetings seem to be lasting longer and longer. Some options that are just absolutely just pulled out of a hat and put on the board, or meet twice a month, amend the start time, and floor is open for any other discussion, thoughts, or.
Be more efficient.
I really think that we get to a point in our meetings at the end where it's gone on so long that we're all tired and pretty much done with this. And we've rushed through things in the past that we've regretted. And the first thing that comes to mind is our first time we talked about the park, the Fred Kirby Park, when Indian Trail wanted to talk with us about it. We rushed and zipped through that because it was the end of the meeting at the end of the day, and our meetings were going very long then because it was with the landings when we were still dealing with that too. So there was a lot going on. And I personally am okay with starting it early. I would go with, say, let's try 6:30 and see what happens with that. I don't want to go too early with the meetings because people, there was actually somebody that, I don't know how many saw this on one of the pages, I think it was on Mark's page, that was complaining about our Thursday night budget meeting. They said, I wish y'all wouldn't have meetings on Thursday nights. We can't make it. And it took every bit of restraint I had from saying, well, if they were on Tuesday night, would that be any better?
Yeah.
But, we'll never make them all happy, obviously. But now, now, on the other hand of this, I know, when we all signed up to do what we do, and it's pretty close to volunteering, but when we all signed up to do what we're doing, we were counting on meetings being at 7 o'clock. So if anybody just can't do it, then I'll drop it in a second.
I'm not sure I can always make it at 6:30, especially I gotta be uptown on Tuesdays.
You have a real job too.
Ouch.
Yes, I
I mean, it's the three of you guys.
I can make
Bruce and I are-
6:30. That's not a problem. I can even make 6 o'clock. That's not a problem for me.
I'm okay with 6:30, either one.
I mean, we started at 10 at Friday.
Oh, no.
You'll be here a long while. Be a short meeting, Mark, you'll be able to say, meeting adjourned.
You know, without amending the start time, could we, say, look, we're only gonna go till at the very latest 10 o'clock, anything that's not done by 10 o'clock, you move over the next night. It automatically goes to another night.
And I can't always do that. Like Tuesday, I can't do Wednesday nights,
Okay,
so that becomes a problem.
Can we make this suggestion? I don't know if it's applicable to you or not, but some of the larger municipalities have what are called consent agendas. I'm not sure if there are items that you could potentially plug into a consent agenda that would, I don't know how that works, but nobody I've represented has had it before, but it may be a way to easily address some of these things that, might, from an efficiency standpoint, even though they're small, they start to add up. They might cut some time in the meeting. I don't know if that's possible.
I've done consent agendas. Wesley Chapel went through stages a couple of different times about meetings running long and all, and one thing is like, if you start at 6:30, you're just gonna get as tired 3 hours in. At 9:30 is when you start at 7 and go to 10. But yeah, consent agendas are a good idea. I mean, you could put things like the minutes, you could put the monthly financial report, any sorts of things that maybe you don't need to have discussion about.
Yeah, and how that works is Sheree would probably put together a consent agenda that would be X items, and like she said, minutes, it could even be things.
It could even be some park and rec things. that
Yeah,
just-
something, we could set a dollar threshold,
Mhm.
and anybody can pull anything off the consent agenda when we start the meeting. So what happens is, like, the third thing we would get to, we would say, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? The consent agenda you would have, and it would have these items or things on it, when they're approved, it's done and over with. If any one council member says, I want further discussion on the minutes or on the signs that we're gonna buy, you just say, I make a motion to remove item F from the consent agenda, it goes on the regular agenda, and then it's talked about. I didn't think about that, but certainly is doable.
I mean, some meetings we have more to discuss than others, needless to say, like we have a closed session, what to do. But other than the closed session and my communications, which is already after everybody's supposed to sleep anyhow. It's only 9:15, and we've been talking about this for 15 minutes, and technically we should have been done by 9 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
And we had quite a bit we discussed tonight. So I mean,
Plus we had a
sometimes,
presentation.
it's
We had a
gonna be-
presentation from the deputies too. We had a presentation.
Yeah, we had a presentation by that, so yeah. There's certain nights, it's gonna go over, I mean, just because like when we talked about all the townhomes additions and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm more than willing to try a consent agenda if y'all want to do
I think
that.
that's a great idea.
Give it a shot.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. And then do you want items that are under a certain amount, or you just want me knowing that, for example, tonight, a lot of the signs could have been by consent agenda, and if somebody wants to pull something off, fine.
Makes sense
I
because
mean, I can do this whole thing under the consent
I
agenda.
mean, other larger jurisdictions do $1 million
Yeah.
items under the consent agenda, unless a commissioner or a council wants to pull it. I mean, I'm just saying that there's nothing too large or too small that could be under there.
Well, I'll put together something for next next month, then we'll give it a try. How's that?
That works.
I'm good with whatever we decide.
Well, if you send the consent agenda out first, can we pull something off before the meeting? Or
You have to pull it in the meeting.
You have to pull it in the meeting, but you know, coming in,
At least you know coming in, because you've already
yeah,
gotten it in our emails.
I guess then council could send to you, I'd like you to put this on the consent
Yeah,
agenda.
put it, move
Right.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can certainly,
Like the public hearing on the budget could have been on consent agenda.
Right. Makes sense. Give it a shot.
I'm trying.
okay. So we'll look at a consent.
Made your money tonight.
I'm just sitting there costing myself money.
But I do have bad news for you. One of the reasons you wanted to get out earlier was to get pizza after you. left.
Yeah.
They
They're
don't
closed
know.
on Tuesdays now.
No, I looked it up and I was like. You got to be kidding me.
You know why they
Jim
do
was trying to
that?
get you over Wednesday night, so you get
Too much competition because of Taco Tuesday or something?
The Mexican restaurant is closed on Monday, so it made sense for them to pick a different night.
Oh, I definitely saw.
Okay.
Item that I added to the agenda tonight, and you'll understand why here in just a minute, is discussion on the shelter and restrooms over at Russell Park. Back in September of 2022, we had a discussion about building a shelter out there. There actually was a motion made to approve up to $50,000 for that shelter, but then we ran into some financial questions that Cheryl had from a statutory perspective, and some other things too. So the motion never carried, it was tabled. Cheryl, within the next couple weeks after that, had sent me, here's what I think needs to happen. She had looked at the requirements for, from a financial standpoint of what needs to happen, and this is what she sent me back verbatim. Her research was keep a record of all the bids, we can't have performance bonds over 300,000. Hubs, the historically underutilized business, you need to document good faith to try to use a hub. If it's over 30,000, you gotta have a general contractor or the lowest responsible bidder and adopt a dispute resolution policy. Ken had replied into this same email chain and said, yeah, I thought we probably should look at this dispute resolution policy. He has now interjected that in several contracts that we've written, I believe.
That's correct.
So it's, although it's not a standalone policy, we could adopt that fairly quick. And then the hub thing is something we would still need to talk about. And I guess that's meaning like a minority business or historically underused business to try to solicit somebody to give bids for things like that. So these are from the guidelines of the state and the government, if you will, correct, Cheryl? As that.
I think with the hubs, they like you to come up with a percent and you can come up with it, whatever percent you want, but I'm thinking something like 10%. And it's a goal, it's not a mandatory.
Requirement, right? One of the things that I started doing whenever this thing came about and we were talking money, and then the first thing we ran into was county said, you gotta have bathrooms. If you're gonna build it out there, that shelter, you gotta have bathrooms. So it went from a $50,000 table project to what we kind of a general consensus, and we've talked with, I think with Kevin at Anchor, and if you gotta do bathrooms, it depends on, can we attach to the back of the restrooms here? Can we tie into that existing sewer capacity? That's a question that's a 10 or a $50,000 question that we don't know the answer to. One of the things that I did right after this, and started in November and December, was I reached out to our state representatives, all of them, and said, we want to do a project. You just gave this county millions of dollars. You just gave, Marvin got 400,000, Unionville got 200,000, the county got $8 million of state money that they gave them. And I said, we need some money. I said, Village of Lake Park, we're a municipality, we pay state taxes, you're our representatives, we need some money. I didn't know whether we'd really get any money or not. I laid out the project that we were trying to do. I laid out the reasons that we had stopped the project and a figure of $100,000. At the same time, I had spoke with Melissa Merrill and Brian Helms, who are county commissioners, who have a little bit closer relationship with the state representatives than we do. I had explained to them what we were up against. I had asked for their help with the county on the restroom thing to make sure that we're not being taken through any ringer, but not that I thought we were, but just if you can help us. And they both committed to help. shortly after my email, all our representatives, Todd Johnson's office and Dean Arp's office, replied to my email and began calling me with some questions about the project and what really do you want to do, what are you gonna, can do. We've talked probably 4 times between those two guys' offices in the past couple months. And Brian Helms called me the night before the county's legislative agenda meeting for breakfast with the legislators, and he said, just want to let you know, I'm sitting with them and I'm gonna put the Lake Park project in their ear and see if we can help. So I got a call yesterday from Dean Arp himself, and Dean said, I understand what you want to do. I wish you'd done it last year because we had millions of dollars in surplus that we were obviously that we gave away. And I said, well, we didn't. A, I wasn't the mayor last year. B, I didn't know that we were going to run into this project problem that we've got. And C, I really probably don't know if I'd have thought of this or not until I saw all this money being funneled to these other municipalities. So Dean said, now they're not through with the budget. They're in Raleigh right now. They're penciling numbers in. And he said, I don't think I can get you $100,000, but I can get you some money. He's committed to help the village of Lake Park. He's told me yesterday, his plan was to seek Todd Johnson on the floor up there in Raleigh and to see if he would cost share this out of their 2 budgets. And it looks really good if they do that because Dean's a House representative and Todd is the senator. So if both of them come together and get some good press and us a big check, it just looks good for everybody. So he said, I think what I can get you is probably $50,000. He said, but he said, don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to commit you $50,000 if y'all can't use it. If your council won't agree to come up with the rest of the money to do the project, or you think you can't use it, I'd rather give it to some other town that is going to be able to use the money. And I respect that. I don't think there's anything wrong with him saying that up front because his job is to make himself look good, and he gives us money and we got to give it back. There's egg on everybody's face. So I told Dean that we were meeting tonight and I was add it to the agenda. That I felt like we had encumbered, we were pretty close to encumbering $50,000 there are a couple places this could come from. There's $180,000 that's set aside for capital. That was for a building replacement that other councils started years ago that's encumbered in our financials. That's some of the money Jim was speaking earlier that's not available as cash. There is the $150,000 in the townhome funds, which I think we had talked about maybe pulling it from there because one of those, it had been said for the use of something that benefits the use of the entire village or some wording like that. Or there's just the regular general fund money that's become available from the ARP money. I told Dean that I said, I'll meet tonight and I'll call you back. He said, I need you to call me back the next day because they're that close on putting pencil to paper of what they're gonna do. He asked me to reach back out to Todd Johnson yesterday so that Todd knows we're still interested. Now, I had talked to Todd's legislative assistant probably 5 weeks ago, but I said, sure, I'll make sure Todd knows that we're still interested. And he said, just tell him I'm looking for him too. So I did that yesterday. So what I'm asking you tonight is, A, do we want that money? You know, again, there's no guarantee, but it sounds pretty secure that they're gonna do something for us. If we want that money, I think we need to commit to the other half of it or to some part of it for sure. I did ask Dean, I said, if we get into this thing and these bathrooms are $400,000, we can't afford it, we won't do it. What happens to that money then? Or can we divert that money to another project? And he said, it depends on how he words it in the bill, but he is not against generically wording it a little bit towards park and recreation facilities, so that if this doesn't happen, we could do a playground, we could do something else. It has to be a capital expense, can't pay salaries, can't pay maintenance. This is a one-time capital thing to an item. So I'll be quiet, let you guys ask me questions or talk and think.
We've already talked about it, and I'm for it. I was good, for spending the original 50,000, so I have no problem if they match it. The only thing I worry about is, if it goes through the roof, but like you said, we have what else we can use it for as another Parks and Rec expense, so I'm totally 100% for it.
I'm for it myself. I would say yes, let's put up the 50,000 for this. And I would say let's pull it out of the town home funds, just because that is for everyone. And, on contingent, we get 50,000 from the state. That's what I would say.
Was there specific wording on the the townhome funds, how it was to be used? No.
There was some generic
There was
wording
some type
about
of
for
writing.
the good of the village or something
Right.
like that. I'd have to go back and look at the conditions.
To the good of the village, that include potholes and streets?
Could. It was very generic, so it could be, it just, as long as you didn't.
Benefit everybody.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
I'm for it, I was for it back when it was 50 grand, and we were gonna move forward. The big hurdle was, again, the restrooms. I can't see restrooms coming in at $400,000.
I mean, I agree, but we don't,
We don't know, but, yeah, I'm for it, especially if they're gonna put 50 from, that gives us
It's
100.
not your funds, basically,
Yeah,
it was like that way, so I'm totally all for this.
Yeah.
That is something that I think needs to be in Russell Park.
Oh, yeah.
And to get the money from the state is a plus for us.
That would be one heck of an improvement for the village, for the
And then the
people in the village.
And even if it comes in at, hey, it's only $75,000,
It won't,
we've only spent 75,000, we have 50,000 from the state, so.
it won't be that low.
I know, I'm just,
That we could
And then the
only
people on
dream.
the other side of Lake Park, your side, are saying, you never do anything for us over here.
oh, I know.
So why not do it at Veterans Pond?
Just run the sewage into there. I know what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah, when I look
And
at
you can do
it,
the spots with.
I put on my budgeting hat and think, okay, we talked about tonight a big expenditure for stormwater. Big cost for streets. Possibility of wanting to borrow money to do those things, or might have to. And then I see us wanting to put out $50,000 for something that we don't have to have. To me, those other things are must-haves. And I'm sort of thinking through that process is that good use of our money? If it was just us putting out 100,000, I'd say no, but by them giving us some money toward it, it might be worthwhile. I'd have to think through it. But I would want to caution, we do have those other big expenses.
We just don't know where they're gonna lay out over time, and they can be done over time. Something that has to be done this year or next year.
but the thing of it is the senator and the representative need a commitment from us to say, hey, you commit to this, we can give you that, we can push and put it on a budget to give you this. And they'll write it up to say, hey, even if that comes to say it's $200,000, they'll write it up that we still get the 50 that we can use
Right.
toward benefit of everything, stormwater.
No, it would have to be.
No, it would have to be a parking.
A park-
Park and rec,
Park
and it has to be a
Depends on how you
capital,
Depends on how it works.
Totally depends on how he words it in the bill.
Right.
And,
but it would be a capital
but
expenditure.
it's a capital expense,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're talking either like playground
It
equipment
could be playground equipment,
or.
which we're putting money toward in order to buy some of that, which is very expensive.
$50,000 worth of mulch.
In
No.
In Wesley Chapel, we talked a whole lot about putting bathrooms in our park, and we still don't have bathrooms, but, and we also talked about doing a picnic shelter, unless you want like a real prefab picnic shelter, I don't know what your aesthetics, ideal would be. I think it's great that they would give us the money, but I'm thinking probably more about 150. And we did do a playground before I left a year ago, and that was like 150.
Yeah, and it could be that, that either we don't do it all together, or if it comes in as 150, then it's the council decision on do we put 100 into it, or do we back it out and do something else with that?
And I think you have 100, yeah.
Yeah, just to commit the money tonight doesn't mean we'll spend it ever. I mean, this is probably well, it's at least July, and it's probably August, September before they give any money. And we've got some work to do with some policies probably, or at least getting some backdoor stuff figured out.
I had a discussion with Kevin about this before the bathroom situation came up. And he said at that time the shelter could be done for around $40,000 to $60,000.
Well, he quoted it, his, I didn't go back and look today, we had 2 quotes last time, and I think his was, one was 23 and one was 27 or something like that, is where, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing that.
well, this was an initial discussion I had with him.
Yeah.
We didn't even have the ball rolling down the alley yet.
Right.
So I guess the consensus is,
So I'm going to put a motion out there to say, let's pull $50,000 from the town home funds to put toward building a, what do we actually call
Do
them
we
now?
want to motion right now on this, or do we want to?
I was under the impression we weren't gonna touch those household funds until it was a done deal, and there was no way they could ever come back on us.
Singing my tune.
Okay.
Well-
I
Yeah, I was
just-
thinking the same thing.
I can hear RZR funds, I just put the town because it benefited the town. I'll just say pull it out of our funds, or actually committed. We have that money in the committed funds.
Sure, I'm not sure, let's find out. I don't think that the mayor necessarily means that.
I think I do need a motion tonight to just
A motion.
encumber the funds.
Yes,
Doesn't mean we're ever gonna spend them, but to
Okay.
encumber the
Okay.
funds to be
I
available.
would say not encumbering some.
Whatever
technical
word Cheryl
stuff.
wants.
Yeah,
to
and
use.
not pull out. I would say that you would want to commit
commit,
from fund balance.
From-
X dollars, whatever.
Yeah, I like the word commit too.
okay, so commit from, well, I wanna say committed for capital replacement out of that.
No,
No.
just from fund balance.
From fund balance, okay, from fund balance, $50,000, for the possible building of a picnic area,
Picnic shelter and
Picnic
refuge,
shelter.
what's worded as.
in Russell Park, provided we get 50,000 from the state.
But we have to go ahead and do what we're doing. We can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would leave that part out, because there's a chance they give us 100, but I don't know.
Leaving,
Right,
contingent
yeah.
out, okay, all right,
75.
Right.
okay, so 50,000 from there for that, commit to that.
Commit from fund balance $50,000 for the possible picnic shelter and bathrooms in Russell Park.
I do,
Jim has made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Bruce second, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
You too.
Motion carries. All right, item 16. One kind of general statute 143A, 143.318.11. We'll look for a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go, move to closed session, pursuant to 143-318.11.
Jimmy made a motion, Mark second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We-
We won't go far, we may need you back.
Okay, so what do you do?
Alt P.
I'm gonna turn mine off, so.
All right, call the Village of Lake Park council meeting back to order and closed sessions officially closed. There were several motions in closed session. I'll read them and send them to you, Sheree,
Thank you.
in writing. There was a motion to combine the stormwater administrator, clerk, and the village administrator, to combine that job description with the zoning, as well as the salaries, and to classify that position as an exempt employee. That motion was made by Joe Scaldera, seconded by Jim, and the motion carried. There was a motion to apply the personnel policy, current adopted personnel policy, to Sheree Clark with some exemptions from the policy. One exemption would be that you receive 6 weeks of vacation annually. The other, that you will, upon separation with proper notice, be paid for any accrued vacation time during that calendar year. Any accrued unused vacation time. There was a motion to apply the current policy to Cheryl Bennett. Let me back up. Joe made the motion for yours. With Jim second, motion carried. Same general motion for Cheryl, that the personnel policy be applicable. Motion made by Joe, seconded by Jim again. Motion carried. And the same motion, personnel policy be applicable to Sarah Boone. And that was motion by Steve, seconded by Bruce. And motion carried. I'm gonna send an addendum to Ken to look over that will, at the end of the personnel policy, there'll be a signature page that says you received it and agreed to it. And if there are any exceptions listed, they'll be listed there. We're gonna let Ken look at that. We'll handle that in the next 30 days or so. Council will also be reviewing the personnel policy just to see if there's any changes or anything in there that may not be applicable anymore. Some things that should be applicable. And we'll just be discussing that at future meetings in open session as need be. If you forget anything, guys?
I think you got it up.
Communications, Mark.
Hey, okay, first off is, I was unable to attend the Masters HOA last month, but our mayor was there. He was gracious enough to give me the rundown of what happened there. First of all, food truck Fridays, first 2 food truck Fridays, last couple of weeks, have been a great turnout, wonderful event. Thank you to Roy, Sudar, for all his hard work and that stuff. I mean, the one this last Friday night, we had a quick rainstorm in the middle of it. Everybody's just parked around the whole park and just getting their cars and waited it out and came back out. Pretty cool. Let's see here. At the April HOA meeting, they're working on some supplemental declaration for the Carefree District, which I assume is the landscaping. Yeah. And so they're drafting it and they're gonna return it for approval and all that. There were 16 violations last month, reported by the Master HOA. There were 5 architectural requests. 1 architectural request denied of those 5. And, or the 5 approved, 1 denied. There were 5 rehome sales last month. Wendy had 1. Didn't mention that. Cost of the extra inspection. They were talking about doing an extra inspection for violations, whatnot. And they said it was a little bit too expensive. It came out to be about $118 an hour. So for now, they're just going to do the 1, which I assume is a 2-day.
Yeah, 2 days.
And the HOA has renewed their insurance. The cost went up only $215 annually. And let's see here, they'll be sending out the spring notice to all residents for weeds, grass height, mold on the houses, etc. They're sending it by email only this year rather than by postage and a letter. Saving the expenses, I guess. There was a talk about Cusick was going to charge every check that they had to write on behalf of the Master HOA. And the board put up a fit about it, it's rightfully so. And they decided, okay, we're not going to charge $15 for every check we do. Yeah. The next meeting for the HOA is this Thursday. The other big news is Luna Pizza is now closed officially on Tuesdays. And the pool is set to open on May 25th. The Memorial Day ceremony is on the 27th at 12:30 at Veterans Pond. And the Piranhas had their first practice yesterday, and they're going to be swimming around there until the 29th. And their first meet will be with Beverly Crest on June 3rd. That's the exciting stuff that's happening.
Is that at home or away?
That I'm not sure. I tried to look at it. And it didn't.
I can tell you.
Yeah, I think-
Three minutes.
Newsletter information, you need any help with newsletter or you?
Yeah, if you got anything for me.
I'll try to, let me put something together, something to you for race.
Oh, okay.
No explosives or incinerators and trash would be a good start.
Yeah.
Where's coming at me? Anything else? I just.
I put something there about not putting your yard waste in the natural areas,
Yeah.
natural
In
areas.
a common, no
Common
diversion.
area.
Yard
Yeah.
waste should be bagged and not deposited anywhere other than at the curb for pickup.
Give me a problem with that, the Amber Court.
Yes,
Civil court.
Civil.
last year, yeah.
Might want to reiterate, batteries don't go in garbage. And I'm pretty sure Home Depot does have the site.
I know
Lowe's may
Lowe's
do.
does.
Those two.
Yeah, they
Um,
can take them there.
Bruce,
You-
with the, now that the pothole repairs have been approved, will those be done in June? The repairs?
They're gonna be done before the end of June. Yeah.
Okay, so you might want to put in the potholes and
Probably.
we will be doing some paving repairs.
Do you still need the mention in there about report potholes? Or hang loose for a month or something?
We
You
don't need
can
it for
if you
every
want
year.
to.
It's on there. Just keep talking about,
You can't believe what I'm getting in the way of their sidewalks. I mean, I'm getting their personal scoops.
Bruce, what about putting in about stop signs going in,
Yeah, the new
Yeah,
stop
put that,
signs
there
needs
will
to
be
go
in
in.
three-way stop?
Yeah, good idea.
Bruce, are you gonna have any issues with anybody parking where the potholes need to be filled, or are there gonna be any issue with that?
No, I don't think so. As I sit here,
Just when I knew you were talking about someone who close to curb, so I
I
didn't
want a
know.
cup of coffee at dinner time. I can't think of any right now. It's close to 11 o'clock.
Okay,
The brain's fried. No, I don't think it will be an issue.
Anything else, Steve, for the newsletter you think of?
we need to once again to remind people on fishing permits.
still going on
Still.
fishing permits.
Yeah,
You can echo in there that sooner or later there's gonna be restriping done on Crest. Along
Yeah, down by my place.
Added that fishing thing, that fountain we put in there messed up my fishing big time.
Did you
We
get
walked
your-
down the other day, I only caught 2 little fish.
Put
In
them back,
30
they'll
minutes,
grow.
I caught 2 little fish.
Put them back, they'll
I'm
grow.
not gonna say the person with me caught about 16 in that 30 minutes, but I only caught 2.
Oh, yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah, so
Steve, when I first hooked that fountain up and I flipped it, there was a guy that was fishing and I turned it on and like 10 seconds later, his door shut and drive away.
It didn't mess my fish, it didn't mess Teresa's fishing up, it messed mine up.
So when it comes to fishing, there's been a lot of people leaving their stuff behind. Bait cups and.
please make sure you clean up.
Hooks.
And a lot of those people leave behind right now.
Read the
All
newsletter.
right, got enough, we'll send you some more if you don't.
Well, I got some disciplinary stuff to bring up this time. Huh?
All right. Council comments, Steve,
I have nothing tonight.
Bruce,
I think it's all been said.
Joe,
I have to agree.
Art,
Good night, all. Thanks.
Jim. Cheryl.
Good night.
Rick. Thank you all, and we'll see you next month. Everybody to adjourn.
I made that motion to adjourn.
Mark made a motion, Bruce second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
So there's a,